12 Most Mysterious Ancient Tombs, recently discovered by experts that shocked the world. Hello, and welcome to the latest video on the Ancient History channel. Did you know that there are places beneath the ground where even mentioning them is enough to send chills down your spine? It's not because of the darkness or the cold, but because of the secrets that have lain silent for hundreds, even thousands of years, waiting for the day they are brought back into the light. In recent years, archaeologists around the world have continuously announced discoveries that have shocked the global community. Strange ancient tombs where death is not simply an ending, but the beginning of countless unanswered questions. Some tombs contain human remains buried in unusual positions, while others reveal dozens of coffins still completely sealed. There are even tombs so disturbing and difficult to explain that they have sparked intense debate within the scientific community. Each of these discoveries brings with it dark stories of sacrificial rituals, ancient beliefs, or curses passed down through generations. And perhaps the most unsettling realization of all is that the deeper we dig, the more we come to understand just how little we truly know about the past. In this video, we will journey together through doors of time long buried beneath the earth to explore 12 of the most mysterious and terrifying ancient tombs recently discovered by archaeologists. What lies beneath the soil is not just bones, but fragments of history that have left the world in stunned silence. Are you ready? If you are, let's begin our first discovery right now. The ancient tomb, containing the remains of women, buried without clothing. In the vast and desolate grasslands of Inner Mongolia, where modern highways are reshaping China's map of development, a secret buried for thousands of years unexpectedly came to light. In 2018, during the construction of a roadway in the city of Baotou, Inner Mongolia, China, construction workers accidentally uncovered a strange structure deep underground. At first, they assumed it was merely the remains of an old building. However, when ancient bricks began to emerge, they immediately reported the discovery to the authorities. No one could have imagined that this structure was actually a gateway into a world of history, tragedy, power, and questions that had gone unanswered for centuries. Archaeological experts quickly arrived at the site and began a meticulous investigation. They soon confirmed that it was an ancient tomb dating back to the Tang Dynasty, a period renowned for its cultural and military achievements, as well as the splendor of imperial power in ancient China. The officially approved excavation lasted 6 days, and when the final layers of soil were cleared away, the archaeologists could hardly believe what they saw. Before them stood a large coffin placed solemnly at the center of the tomb. Surrounding it were 4 sets of human remains, all housed within a solid tomb structure that had been preserved almost intact. A preliminary examination revealed that the remains inside the coffin belonged to a man, while the 4 others were women. What was both strange and deeply controversial was that 2 of the 4 women had been buried without any clothing, an extremely unusual practice that ran completely counter to traditional burial customs of that era. So who were they? Why were they treated this way in death? And what truly happened more than 1,300 years ago? Seeking answers, the experts began analyzing the burial artifacts, paying particular attention to a stone epitaph placed inside the tomb. It was here that the identity of the man in the coffin was finally revealed. He was Qin Fen, who had once served as the northern capital commandant of the Anbai Protectorate during the reign of Emperor Guangzhou of the Tang Dynasty. His life story gradually came into focus. Born into poverty, Qin Fen was the eldest of 6 brothers. Through sheer determination and ambition, he entered a military career. From an anonymous foot soldier on the battlefield, he distinguished himself through numerous military achievements, survived countless brutal conflicts, and ultimately rose to the highest local military rank. He became a symbol of resilience, decisiveness, and extraordinary perseverance during a turbulent era. Yet what truly unsettles later generations is not only how he lived, but how he chose to die. According to the epitaph, Qin Fen died in the year 698. Before his death, he instructed his son, Qin Huan, to carry out a ritual of human sacrifice, ordering that 4 of his concubines be buried with him, along with gold, silver, ceramics, and many other valuable possessions. The feudal belief in absolute loyalty between husband and wife, combined with the authority of imperial power, gave rise to a ritual that was cruel by modern standards, yet considered honorable at the time. However, the epitaph does not explain why 2 of the concubines were buried without clothing. This glaring omission has left experts perplexed and has sparked countless theories. Were they forced to endure some form of punishment? Or were they part of a mysterious ancient ritual that history has long forgotten? The artifacts discovered around the tomb, from white-glazed ceramics and jade beads to exquisitely crafted burial goods, paint a picture of wealth and noble status. Yet it is precisely the absence of clothing on the bodies that casts a haunting shadow over the entire mystery. On one hand, this detail may reflect moral decline or the harsh realities of the feudal system. On the other, it could be evidence of complex and little-known burial regulations during the Tang Dynasty. Though more than a millennium has passed, the tomb of Qin Fen, a man once regarded as a symbol of loyalty to the throne and military brilliance, has opened a doorway into a world where every bone, every carving, and every buried secret embodies both the golden age and the darkness of an era. Have the souls within this tomb truly found peace? Or do they still have something to say to future generations beneath the cold earth of Beotu? The answer perhaps is still out there, waiting for us to uncover it. The secret tomb, containing 12 human skeletons in the ancient city of Petra, Jordan. Petra, the ancient city located in Ma'an Governorate, Jordan, is one of the world's most famous archaeological destinations and holds immense historical significance. Petra was once the capital of the Nabatean Kingdom, a powerful regional civilization that existed from the 4th century BCE to the 2nd century CE. The city is renowned for its extraordinary architecture, carved directly into rose-colored sandstone cliffs, creating an atmosphere that is both mysterious and timeless. Among Petra's many remarkable structures, the treasury, also known as Al-Khazna, stands out as an unmissable highlight. This elaborately constructed monument was long believed by the Bedouin, descendants of the Nabatean people, to be a place where gold and treasures belonging to the Egyptian pharaohs were hidden. The history and legends surrounding the treasury have drawn millions of visitors each year. Recently, however, a major archaeological discovery has raised new questions about Petra's past. Archaeologists led by Dr. Pierce Paul Kriesman, executive director of the American Center of Research, conducted excavations beneath the floor of the treasury and uncovered a tomb containing at least 12 human skeletons, along with valuable artifacts dating back approximately 2,000 years. This discovery followed many years of research and investigation. In 2003, archaeologists found 2 tombs beneath the left side of the treasury. Subsequent studies, however, indicated that these underground chambers were not the only ones present. With the help of ground-penetrating radar technology, Dr. Kriesman and his research team detected physical features beneath the ground on the right side of the treasury, suggesting the presence of a larger area that could contain additional tombs. An excavation was then carried out in August 2024, resulting in the discovery of a tomb containing remarkably well-preserved human remains. What makes this find particularly surprising is that many previously discovered tombs at Petra were either empty or heavily disturbed, while this tomb contained intact skeletons along with burial goods made of bronze, iron, and ceramic. According to Dr. Kriesman, this is an exceptionally rare and valuable discovery that offers profound insight into the lives and customs of the Nabatean people, an ancient nomadic civilization. The skeletons were generally well preserved, although some showed signs of mold damage caused by Petra's humidity and seasonal flooding. Notably, one of the skeletons was found holding a ceramic cup shaped similarly to the Holy Grail, further deepening the mystery surrounding the discovery. This find is especially significant not only for its archaeological value, but also because it may serve as a key to unlocking long-standing mysteries about the Nabateans, particularly their burial practices. Despite being a society with a rich and distinctive culture, much about the Nabateans remains unclear, especially regarding social equality in their burial traditions. Previously discovered tombs suggest a striking uniformity between royal and common burials, making it difficult for researchers to determine whether the tomb beneath the treasury belonged to royalty. Petra is not only one of the new 7 wonders of the world, but also a place filled with unresolved mysteries and untold stories. Perhaps these new discoveries will continue to reinforce Petra's importance in historical and archaeological research. As you can see, the true wonder of this ancient city lies not only in its architectural beauty, but also in the hidden stories that scholars are gradually bringing to light. 2,100-year-old bronze tomb. burying a mysterious woman that stunned archaeologists. Hidden beneath what appeared to be lifeless soil near the city of Kozani in northern Greece, an archaeological discovery has sent chills down many spines with curiosity. During a routine excavation, experts from the Kozani Archaeological Service unexpectedly uncovered an ancient burial complex with a strange layout, unlike any tombs previously known. At the center of this discovery was a single grave, the final resting place of a woman who lived approximately 2,100 years ago. At first glance, the tomb did not appear particularly grand. However, the deeper archaeologists investigated, the more they realized they were facing an extraordinary and unusual story. The most shocking detail was the woman's remains themselves. Instead of being placed in a stone coffin or buried directly in the ground, her body was laid upon a bed. That alone would seem unusual to many, but the truth was even more astonishing. Through careful examination and analysis, the bed was identified as being made entirely of bronze, a precious and rare material in ancient times. More than a functional object, the bed was exquisitely crafted, bearing strong artistic and religious significance. Carved into the bed was the image of a nymph, a figure closely associated with Greek mythology. Notably, the nymph was depicted wearing a laurel wreath, an honor traditionally reserved for victors, heroes, or individuals of high social status. Adding to the mystery, one of the bed's horizontal panels depicted a haunting scene, a giant bird gripping a snake in its beak. This imagery has puzzled many experts. In ancient symbolism, birds often represented the sky, the divine, or the soul, while snakes were commonly associated with rebirth, power, and death. The appearance of these two symbols together on a burial bed may convey a profound spiritual message or reflect the unique beliefs held by the woman during her lifetime. Over time, the wooden components of the bed completely decayed, leaving behind only the durable bronze frame and decorative elements, which survived more than 2 millennia. What further astonished archaeologists was the discovery of several fine gold threads in the woman's hand, threads typically used in high-end embroidery. This small yet significant detail opened the door to a major hypothesis. The woman may have been closely associated with skilled craftsmanship, or more simply, she may have belonged to a wealthy social class where gold was not a luxury. Surrounding the tomb were 4 clay vessels and 1 glass container, carefully placed near the remains. These burial goods indicate that the funeral ritual was meticulously planned and deliberately carried out. Notably, the tomb contained only 1 individual. There were no accompanying remains, no relatives buried alongside her, as if the space had been reserved exclusively for her, completely separate from the outside world. At present, archaeologists continue to analyze the skeleton to determine her exact age at death, her health during life, and the cause of her death. Although no final conclusions have been reached, the artifacts discovered so far strongly suggest that this was no ordinary woman. She may have come from a wealthy family, or even had connections to the aristocracy or royalty of the time. So what do you think warranted such an elaborate burial on a finely crafted bronze bed? Was it status, power, or a secret that history has deliberately kept hidden? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. 2,300-year-old ancient tomb containing burned human remains that shocked experts. Hidden beneath the ground of modern-day Istanbul, Turkey, a historical secret lay undisturbed for more than 2,300 years, until archaeologists recently made a rare and astonishing discovery. The unearthing of this ancient tomb has sent shockwaves through the academic community and captivated history enthusiasts around the world. What makes this discovery extraordinary is not only its age, but also the unusual manner in which the remains inside the tomb were buried, a funerary practice so rare that it has scarcely ever been documented in this region before. The deceased was not merely buried, but was burned within the tomb itself, creating a mysterious and highly unusual combination of burial and cremation rituals. So what exactly happened here thousands of years ago, in what was once a major center of ancient civilization? And who was the individual laid to rest in this remarkable tomb? To answer these questions, experts conducted a series of in-depth studies, not only excavating the site, but also cross-referencing ancient texts, geographical maps, and historical records. Their findings led them to an ancient name, Chalcedon, a once prosperous city during the Hellenistic period, roughly spanning from 323 BCE to 33 BCE. Chalcedon is no stranger to historians. The city was a strategic hub located along the Bosphorus Strait, the natural boundary separating Asia and Europe and the vital gateway to the Black Sea. Thanks to this prime location, Chalcedon and its neighboring city Byzantium, the forerunner of Constantinople and later Istanbul, once implemented a bold and powerful economic strategy. Between approximately 235 and 220 BCE, the two cities jointly established a maritime toll system, charging ships that passed through the Bosphorus. Notably, this system was not merely a local initiative. It received strong backing from an external power, the Egyptian navy, which at the time was under the control of the Ptolemaic dynasty. This Hellenistic dynasty ruled Egypt after the death of Alexander the Great and later became famous for Queen Cleopatra. Egypt's military support underscores the political and economic importance of Chalcedon at the time and highlights the complex connections between major civilizations in the region. Returning to the newly discovered tomb, in addition to the burned human remains, which alone left archaeologists stunned, experts also uncovered two notable artifacts, an unfired clay cup and a perfume bottle. These items carry not only material value, but also strong symbolic meaning. The simple clay cup may have been a personal item or a ritual offering, while the perfume bottle is commonly associated with funerary rites, an attempt to preserve fragrance and purity for the soul of the deceased. Most striking of all, the act of burning the body within the tomb itself may reflect a unique funerary belief held by the people of Chalcedon, or perhaps by an elite social class within the region. This could represent a rare religious ritual or convey a specific message related to social status, identity, or even political significance. According to Rahmi Asal, director of the Istanbul Archaeological Museums, the discoveries at this ancient tomb promise to open new pathways for understanding the burial customs and spiritual beliefs of the ancient Chalcedonians. Every detail, from the treatment of the remains to the accompanying artifacts, serves as a valuable piece in reconstructing the daily life, beliefs, and culture of a community that thrived here more than 2 millennia ago. The discovery of this tomb is more than just an archaeological achievement. It is also a powerful reminder that beneath the streets of our modern cities, under the ground we walk on every day, countless untold stories, unnamed souls, and long-sleeping secrets still await discovery. One tomb, one individual, one civilization, all converge in a single moment of excavation, bringing us closer to the past, deepening our understanding of our origins, and reminding us to cherish the intangible values that quietly fade with time. 5,000-year-old Egyptian tomb reveals secrets of ancient musical art. If you think modern music, with its booming bass and pounding speakers, is what really excites people today, then you might be surprised to learn that the ancient Egyptians were already chilling to music 5,000 years ago, long before us. Newly uncovered evidence from an ancient tomb has left archaeologists scratching their heads and researchers exclaiming in amazement, "This discovery is truly unexpected." Deep beneath the scorching sands of Egypt, inside an ancient tomb, experts from the Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities unexpectedly uncovered what can only be described as a kind of pre-pharaonic music stage. On the faded tomb walls appeared unfamiliar yet fascinating images. Gracefully curved harps, elegant flutes, and even instruments resembling clarinets, a type of instrument one would normally expect to see only in a modern orchestra. Yes, it may sound strange, but it is true. Ancient Egyptians once played instruments that we often assume are modern inventions. Surprising, isn't it? And that's not all. What makes this discovery even more intriguing is that the ancient Egyptians did not simply hold instruments for decoration or amusement. The wall carvings depict musicians with focused expressions, professional postures, and the unmistakable presence of true artists. If you look closely, it almost feels as though they were preparing to perform at funerals, banquets, or important royal ceremonies. One can easily imagine a pharaoh nodding along to the rhythm. However, this is where scientists face their greatest challenge. No musical notation has been found. There are no notes, no scores, no tuning instructions, not even a defined musical scale. It is as if the tomb itself is saying, "The music is here, but how it was played is for you to figure out." As a result, researchers can only speculate about how music from 5,000 years ago might have sounded. Was it similar to orchestral music? Did it resemble folk melodies? Or could it have been humanity's very first ancient remix? Despite the lack of concrete evidence, archaeologists agree on one thing. Ancient Egyptian music was incredibly diverse. Imagine a world of pyramids, sphinxes, and the gentle flow of the Nile, where evenings were filled with the sounds of flutes, harps, and rhythmic percussion. This vision reveals that ancient people were far from rigid or overly solemn, as textbooks often portray them. They knew joy, appreciated beauty, and turned daily life into sound. Some experts even speculate that royal bands may have existed, groups of musicians dedicated to performing in religious rituals. Perhaps there were even music stars of the ancient world, only lacking social media to make them famous across the globe. Looking at these ancient images, one thing becomes clear. Music was not merely entertainment, it was a sacred element of Egyptian spiritual life. The Egyptians believed that sound could connect humans with the gods, heal the soul, and guide the deceased peacefully into the afterlife. And so, from a tomb that lay silent for 5,000 years, we are now able to hear the story of a once vibrant musical tradition long hidden by time. And who knows, somewhere beneath the vast desert sands, other tombs may still be waiting to reveal more hidden melodies. So take a moment to imagine, what kind of music did the ancient Egyptians love? Was it lively, mysterious, or so gentle that even the desert itself fell silent to listen? Only time and future excavations will tell. But one thing is certain, the ancient world left us far more than we ever imagined. We just need to dig a little deeper, and history will sing to us once again. "150 tombs beneath a zoo reveal thousands of years of history in Guangzhou, China." Few people would imagine that beneath a bustling zoo in Guangdong Province, China, there lies an entire ancient world. One where the living and the dead once coexisted across thousands of years of history. Yet this remarkable story is entirely true. The story began in 1956, when construction of the zoo first got underway. At the time, no one suspected that the very first strikes of a shovel would unintentionally open a completely new chapter in Chinese archaeology. After decades of surveys and research, archaeologists gradually realized that this area was anything but ordinary. Beneath what seemed like lifeless soil, hundreds of ancient tombs lay silently, as if waiting for the day their stories would finally be told. According to records, around 500 tombs have been documented in this area, providing an invaluable archive of historical and cultural information about Guangzhou in particular and China as a whole. Then, in early 2024, the Guangzhou Institute of Cultural Heritage and Archaeology officially launched a large-scale excavation. The results astonished researchers. 148 ancient tombs from multiple dynasties were uncovered, spanning the Han, Tang, Jin, Southern Song, and Ming dynasties. The mere fact that tombs from so many different dynasties coexist within a single burial area is enough to demonstrate that this location held exceptional importance throughout history. Each excavated tomb is like a doorway leading back into the past. From these sites, archaeologists recovered nearly 200 artifacts, ranging from finely crafted jade pieces to elaborately decorated ceramics. These discoveries clearly reveal how burial customs, religious beliefs, and perceptions of the afterlife evolved over time. Covering a total excavation area of approximately 1,300 square meters, or about 14,000 square feet, this project is not only scientifically significant, but also serves as a vivid reflection of the spiritual life and cultural traditions of the ancient inhabitants of the region. Among the tombs uncovered, the most remarkable is one dating back more than 1,700 years to the Eastern Jin Dynasty. This tomb measures nearly 10 meters in length, or about 33 feet, and is notably large in scale. Most impressively, it has been preserved almost entirely intact. Although a small hole left by tomb robbers was discovered, the overall structure remains largely unchanged. Experts consider it the largest and best-preserved Eastern Jin tomb ever found in Guangzhou. Another tomb from the Southern Dynasty's period is also highly noteworthy. Despite having been disturbed in the past, it still contains numerous valuable artifacts, allowing researchers to partially reconstruct the burial rituals and social status of the individual interred there. According to Cheng Hao, a researcher at the Guangzhou Institute of Cultural Heritage and Archaeology, this discovery is of tremendous significance. Not only does it shed light on ancient burial customs and funeral practices in Guangzhou, but it also provides critical data for studying construction techniques and architectural methods during the Jin and Southern dynasties. From tomb layouts and building materials to construction techniques, every detail reflects the impressive technical skills of ancient builders. At present, researchers continue to analyze, compare, and interpret the remains beneath the ground, hoping to gain deeper insight into the social structure, belief systems, and daily life of ancient China across different dynasties. Notably, the Guangzhou Institute of Cultural Heritage and Archaeology has also developed public tour programs, giving visitors the opportunity to see and experience the value of this extraordinary heritage firsthand. So if you ever have the chance to visit Guangzhou, be sure to stop by. You may find yourself standing on ground beneath which an entire treasury of history lies quietly whispering stories from thousands of years ago. 1,000-year-old tomb of a Chinese couple. During the construction of the Ningxiang-Shaoshan Highway in Hunan Province, China, archaeologists discovered a 1,000-year-old tomb belonging to a couple who lived during the Northern Song Dynasty. What makes this discovery remarkable is not only that the two bodies were buried in two brick sarcophagi placed side by side in a dignified manner, but also the presence of an unusual structure within the tomb. A mysterious window, unlike anything archaeologists had seen before. Researchers from the Hunan Provincial Institute of Cultural Relics and Archaeology analyzed the tomb and proposed a romantic hypothesis about this structure, calling it a fairy bridge, a symbolic link allowing the couple to continue their profound love without separation, even in the afterlife. This is an extraordinarily rare find, as burying a couple together with a fairy bridge demonstrates the deep concept of eternal love and bonding in the mindset of people from that era. The discovery extends beyond the burial itself. It provides a unique perspective on how the Northern Song people viewed life after death. The construction of a fairy bridge within the tomb, symbolically connecting two souls, reflects the belief that death is not the ultimate separation, but rather a doorway to another world where love continues to exist and flourish. This timeless love story invites reflection on human attachment that transcends life and death. In addition to the couple's remains, archaeologists uncovered numerous grave goods, primarily ceramic items. These artifacts are considered both exquisite and abundant, indicating that the couple likely belonged to a well-off family. The presence of multiple grave goods also suggests they were treated with great honor after death, reflecting the burial traditions and spiritual beliefs of the Northern Song period, in which objects were not only material possessions but also held spiritual significance to help the soul rest and prepare for the next life. Experts carefully cleaned the soil from the artifacts and remains before transferring them to a museum for further study and exhibition, ensuring the historical and cultural value of the tomb is preserved. This discovery is not only an archaeological milestone, but also an emotional journey, a story full of love and spiritual belief from a millennium ago. It provides insight into the lives of the ancients and the profound values they cherished and passed down through generations. The 1,000-year-old tomb in Hunan stands as a vivid testament to the connection between past and present, between material life and the spiritual world, while inspiring curiosity and appreciation for the untold stories of human history. Who knows? Perhaps these very fairy bridges helped guide the spirits of the departed so they would never lose their way. And perhaps true love never ends, no matter how much time passes. 1,700-year-old rich family tomb reveals hidden treasure. Buried deep beneath seemingly quiet soil near Shenzhuang village, China, experts from the Luoyang Institute of Archaeology were astonished to uncover 3 ancient tombs, believed to belong to an exceptionally wealthy family that lived more than 1,700 years ago. This discovery revealed not just old bricks or broken pottery, but a whole luxurious world of the past gradually emerging, as if time itself had gently opened a secret door. The 3 tombs were labeled M1, M2, and M3, and research determined that they date from the mid to late Western Jin Dynasty, possibly even earlier during the Chao Wei period. Simply establishing this timeline highlights the historical significance of the find. What impressed researchers the most, however, was the construction, arrangement, and meticulous detail of these tombs. Among them, M1 stood out as the heart of the tomb complex. It is the largest, most intricate tomb, with a scale and complexity far surpassing the others. From the rammed earth entrance and carefully sealed brick door, to the long corridor, sturdy stone gates, and square main chamber, every detail indicated that this was no ordinary resting place. Along the corridor were side pits, likely intended for grave goods, reflecting the belief that the afterlife required the same comforts as life itself. When archaeologists ventured further into M1, the treasure trove was finally revealed. Over 200 artifacts were discovered, including ceramics, lacquerware, and rare materials such as ivory. Among these, a particularly remarkable find was a pair of bone earrings intricately carved with phoenixes and birds. This is extremely rare, as jade and pottery were the common materials for jewelry at that time. Even this small detail underscores the unique aesthetic sense and high social status of the tomb's owner. The other two tombs, M2 and M3, though smaller and simpler than M1, were still impressive. They were built in a similar style, facing south, and contained many valuable artifacts. The consistency in construction and grave goods strongly suggest that these tombs belonged to members of the same family, buried according to a clear social hierarchy, reflecting the class system of the period. Artifacts from all three tombs, including bronze, iron, gold, jade, and lacquerware, helped researchers reconstruct burial customs and the luxurious lifestyle of the elite during the Western Jin Dynasty. Beyond material wealth, the discovery offers insight into how the ancient people perceived power, status, and life after death. This find in Mangsin District, Henan Province, is more than a simple archaeological excavation. It serves as a reminder that beneath every patch of earth we walk on, there may be a historical story waiting to be told. 3,500-year-old strange tombs with unusual burial positions discovered along the Nile River. Along the legendary Nile River, which once nurtured one of humanity's most magnificent civilizations, Egyptian archaeologists have unveiled a discovery that has left both researchers and adventure enthusiasts shivering with curiosity. This is the discovery of a series of ancient tombs with bizarre burial positions. Skeletons not lying straight as we usually see, but curled up, knees drawn in, as if embracing a secret that has remained hidden for over 3,500 years beneath layers of sand and time. According to the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities, the excavation took place at Qom al-Kolgan, a site along the Nile about 87 miles from Cairo. Here, experts discovered 20 ancient burial grounds dating back to the second pre-dynastic period, approximately 1782 to 1570 BCE. This alone highlights the immense value of the find, as this was the formative period of Egyptian civilization, filled with numerous rituals and beliefs that remain largely undeciphered. What makes these tombs particularly remarkable is not just their age, but also what was found inside. According to Mostafa Waziri, Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, the skeletons were never alone. Alongside the deceased were animal remains, stone tools, finely decorated pottery, and especially rare black pottery, uncommon in other tombs of the same period. These artifacts suggest that the dead were not merely buried, but also prepared for some journey after death. The most striking and curious aspect is the burial posture. Most skeletons were placed in very unusual positions, bodies curled up as if squatting, then leaning to one side. Arms were bent across the chest, heads bowed toward the hands, creating an image that is both strange and highly ritualistic. Many tombs also featured stone circles surrounding the body, with carefully placed artifacts inside, forming a sacred space reserved for the deceased. However, this ancient burial style has affected the preservation of the skeletons. Over thousands of years, environmental erosion has damaged many bones, posing challenges for researchers. Despite this, archaeologists believe that what has been uncovered so far is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the sands along the Nile, there may still lie many untold stories about the beliefs, daily lives, and perspectives of ancient Egyptians on life and death. Currently, excavation work is ongoing at a fast pace. Experts hope that, as these tombs are studied in more detail, they will shed light on a little-known period of history, revealing how ancient people entrusted their faith, fears, and aspirations to these mysterious burial rituals. Over 2,500-year-old sealed coffins discovered in Egypt. In the arid deserts of Egypt, a land that has witnessed the rise and fall of countless ancient dynasties, Sakara Cemetery has once again captured the world's attention. Recently, archaeologists unearthed 80 ancient coffins, all over 2,500 years old, remarkably still sealed. Just hearing this is enough to send chills down the spine, as these coffins have remained virtually untouched by human hands for millennia. What makes this discovery extraordinary is not only the number of coffins, but also their incredible state of preservation. Many coffins retain vivid paint, with intricate decorative patterns appearing almost as if freshly completed. The illustrations, hieroglyphs, and motifs on the coffin lids narrate stories of ancient Egyptian beliefs, religion, and views of the afterlife. In this sense, each coffin resembles an unopened history book, waiting to be decoded. Due to overwhelming public interest, experts decided to open some of the coffins on site, in front of reporters. The moment the lids were lifted was more than a scientific procedure. It felt like a meeting between the present and the past. Inside were carefully wrapped mummies, reflecting elaborate funerary rituals and a profound belief in life after death. This step marks an important milestone in understanding the culture, religion, and spiritual life of ancient Egyptians. The excavation has also revealed further surprises. Archaeologists uncovered numerous gold-gilded wooden statues, exquisitely crafted. These statues were not merely burial items, but carried deep religious significance, symbolizing the connection between humans and their gods. The meticulous craftsmanship highlights the artistic skill and technical mastery of Egyptians from thousands of years ago. The significance of this discovery was underscored by the visit of Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and Minister of Tourism and Antiquities Khalid El-Anani, who personally inspected the excavation site. Their presence emphasizes that Egypt regards this as more than a typical archaeological find. It is a cultural heritage treasure, shedding further light on the country's glorious history. Notably, about 2 weeks earlier at Sakara, archaeologists had announced the discovery of 59 other intact coffins, also unopened. The consecutive unearthing of these sealed mummies presents an enormous task for specialists, as each mummy must be carefully cataloged and examined to determine gender, chibimish, social status, and even aspects of their life when alive. Every small detail could provide critical insights into ancient Egyptian society. Sakara has long been considered one of Egypt's most important archaeological sites. It is renowned not only for its groundbreaking discoveries, but also for its massive architectural complexes connected to the pyramids at Giza, Abu Sur, Dashur, and Abu Ruwaish. At Sakara alone, there are at least 11 pyramids and hundreds of tombs of officials, spanning from the First Dynasty to the Coptic period. Each layer of sand uncovered at Sakara reveals clearer glimpses into ancient Egyptian history. With these 80 still-sealed coffins, humanity may soon hear untold stories whispered across more than 2,500 years, preserved beneath the desert sands. Ancient Chinese tomb reveals massive treasure. One ordinary morning in the 1960s in Guangzhou town, Anji County, Zhejiang Province, China, where towering Rocky Mountains dominate the skyline, a Chinese military unit was conducting a task to blast rock for bridge construction. But no one could have anticipated that every explosion from those charges would not only tear through the cliffs, but also strike a piece of history buried for centuries. Beneath the layers of rock lay an ancient tomb, silently waiting for the fateful moment to reveal itself. The blast not only shattered the mountainside, but also sent gold, silver, precious gems, and priceless antiques flying in all directions, creating a scene so overwhelming that those witnessing it would never forget. Local villagers flocked to the site, initially out of curiosity, then excitement. They picked up fragments of gold, gemstones, and glittering artifacts, once carefully placed in the sacred resting place of a historical figure. However, the discovery was quickly reported to local authorities, and shortly thereafter, the Cultural Heritage Bureau coordinated with relevant agencies. They called on residents to voluntarily return any artifacts they had collected, and fortunately, most complied. As a result, authorities recovered 5 gold treasures, 23 silver artifacts, 5 jade pieces, along with numerous agate and amber items, and even 3 intricately crafted folding fans. The investigation didn't stop there. Archaeologists rushed to the site to survey the newly uncovered tomb and quickly realized it was no ordinary burial. After examining and cataloging the artifacts, they identified the tomb's occupant as Wu Lin, a high-ranking official of the Ming Dynasty who once served as supervisor of Shandong Province. What surprised many was that Wu Lin was known for his integrity and modest lifestyle, avoiding luxury. A model scholar and upright official, he retired in 1547 to return to his hometown and live a quiet life, far from the political power struggles. So how could a man of such simplicity have a tomb filled with so much gold and treasure? Experts believe the answer lies in the love and devotion of his family. According to archaeologists, the wealth was likely placed there by Wu Lin's 4 sons, all accomplished and filial. Upon their father's passing, they used their financial resources to fill the tomb with the family's most precious treasures, honoring him in his journey to the afterlife, a final gesture of gratitude to a model father. This treasure, valued at approximately 200 million yuan, is not merely a collection of material wealth, but also a vivid testament to an era, a great personality, and a moving tradition of filial devotion. If one says that this story, of a tomb accidentally revealed after a rock-blasting operation, not only holds archaeological value, but also serves as a powerful reminder of respect for the past, of remembering those who came before us, and of how family love can transcend the boundary between life and death, it would not be an exaggeration at all. 6,000-year-old Chinese tomb contains dragon skeleton, astonishing experts. In the ancient land of Bokyang, Henan Province, China, once the cradle of a magnificent civilization thousands of years ago, archaeologists have made a discovery that has stunned both researchers and the public alike. While excavating an ancient tomb estimated to be 6,000 years old, archaeologists unexpectedly uncovered a mystery far beyond anything science had previously known. A skeleton of a creature with a bizarre shape resembling the legendary dragon. There were no human remains, no gold or treasures. The only occupant of the cold, buried tomb was a creature that seemed to exist only in mythology, sparking unprecedented waves of debate and speculation. In Chinese culture, dragons are considered sacred symbols representing favorable weather, bountiful harvests, and the ultimate emblem of imperial power, the true dragon of the Son of Heaven. Ancient Chinese people did not worship dragons as mere mythical beasts. They believed dragons were real creatures that once existed and played an important role in history. Therefore, the discovery of a skeleton suspected to be a dragon in a Yangshao period tomb, the early civilization of the Huaxia people, has raised countless unanswered questions. According to archaeologists, the skeleton was positioned with its head facing northeast and its body in a highly unusual posture, front legs tightly bent, hind legs raised, and the tail curving gracefully like a wave. Surrounding the skeleton were walls engraved with intricate carvings, reflecting solemnity and reverence, as if this creature was not merely an animal, but a sacred spirit buried with the utmost respect. Yet the biggest puzzle for scientists is that there is no indication of who the tomb's owner was. Some hypotheses suggest that only extraordinary figures of legendary power, such as Zhuan Shu, Fuxi, or even Si Yu, mythical kings and heroes, could have defeated a dragon. In this case, the skeleton might represent a monumental achievement of such a figure. But was this truly the skeleton of a dragon? Or was it a symbolic burial ritual meant to convey the authority of a legendary leader? And if dragons once existed, could this ancient civilization have hidden a lost chapter of history, where humans coexisted with creatures we today call mythical? Although many hypotheses have been proposed, the identity of the tomb's owner remains unknown, while the dragon skeleton continues to lie there, challenging the limits of human knowledge. This excavation is not just an archaeological discovery. It opens a new chapter linking legend and reality, belief and historical truth. Perhaps the answer to the mystery of the dragon, a sacred creature of the East, will continue to fascinate generations of explorers to come. 13 terrifying archaeological discoveries that shocked the world more than Hollywood movies. 1,500-year-old mummy that traveled through time wearing Adidas sneakers. An ancient mummy lay silently for 1,500 years beneath the icy layers of rock and soil in the Altai mountains, only to be unexpectedly discovered. Not because of a frightening appearance or an unusual burial position, but because of a pair of shoes that looked exactly like Adidas sneakers. It sounds like the plot of a humorous science fiction movie, but this is a completely real story that was announced earlier this week in Mongolia. Specifically, Archaeologists working in the Altai mountain region stunned the world when they released the first images of a mummy dating back about 1,500 years. The mummy was excavated at an altitude of more than 9,180 feet, inside an ancient Turkic burial chamber approximately 10 feet deep, a tomb considered one of the most complete Turkic graves ever discovered in Central Asia. However, what truly turned this mummy into a social media sensation was not just its historical value, but the footwear the ancient individual was wearing. The shoes featured diagonal stripe patterns that look remarkably similar to the iconic Adidas Gazelle, one of the most legendary sneaker designs of all time. It didn't take long for internet users to notice this uncanny resemblance. One Facebook user jokingly commented, "Those must be authentic Adidas Gazelles. I own several pairs, but none of them have lasted 1,500 years." On Twitter, the images quickly went viral, accompanied by comments such as, "Time travel is real," and "She's definitely from the future," instantly turning this archaeological discovery into one of the hottest topics on social media worldwide. Returning to the archaeological significance, researchers believe the mummy was most likely female, as no bow or arrows were found in the grave, items commonly associated with men in ancient Turkic culture. Instead, the tomb contained an exceptionally rich and well-preserved collection of burial goods, including bridles, a saddle, leather bags, ceramic vessels, wooden bowls, an iron pot, pillows, and most notably, the intact remains of a horse. These findings suggest both deep respect for the deceased and the woman's significant social status within her ancient community. Several pieces of clothing were also remarkably well preserved, thanks to the naturally cold conditions of the high-altitude environment. Another detail that greatly excited scientists was the material used in the burial garments. In addition to cotton and sheep's wool, researchers at the Coved Museum, where the mummy is currently housed, also identified woven fabric made from camel hair. This discovery indicates that ancient Turkic people possessed advanced textile skills and made early, diverse use of animal resources. All of these details help paint a vivid picture of life in Central Asia thousands of years ago, a society skilled in animal husbandry, crafting household tools, horseback riding, complex funeral rituals, and even surprisingly impressive fashion. Archaeological experts believe that continued study of the mummy and its accompanying artifacts will provide deeper insights into the culture, society, religion, and even the fashion of ancient Turkic civilizations. Everyday objects, from wooden bowls and leather bags to the so-called ancient Adidas sneakers, serve as invaluable clues connecting the past to the present. Sometimes, a single pair of shoes can make us stop and ask, is it possible that history can travel through time? Whether these shoes were truly a pioneer of athletic fashion or simply a remarkable coincidence in ancient craftsmanship, the Altai mummy continues to tell its story in a uniquely captivating way. A story that blends serious archaeology with irresistible entertainment, capturing the attention not only of historians but also of the global online community. And you, what do you think about this discovery? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. 1,200-year-old ancient tomb, filled with gold belonging to a powerful chieftain. Have you ever imagined that beneath the roots of an ordinary tree in a remote, untouched park, there could be an entire world of gold, mystery, and spine-chilling secrets hidden away? The strange and fascinating story I'm about to share with you is not a work of science fiction. It is 100% real. This astonishing archaeological discovery recently took place at El Caño Archaeological Park in Panama, where scientists uncovered an ancient tomb containing not only vast golden treasures, but also legendary and haunting mysteries tied to a once glorious civilization that has nearly been forgotten. The burial chamber, dating back more than 1,200 years, is the final resting place of a powerful chieftain from the ancient Cocle culture, a civilization that flourished around the 8th century AD. What left researchers truly stunned was not just the sheer number of artifacts found, but the epic and deeply spiritual story hidden behind every dazzling piece of gold. Inside the tomb, archaeologists discovered dozens of golden artifacts, bracelets, crocodile-shaped earrings, belts adorned with gold beads, and even a strange garment made from dog teeth. Most striking of all was a set of flutes crafted from human bones, as if every sound produced by them could whisper stories from the realm of the dead. Each object bears mystical markings and sacred symbolism of the Cocle people, who believed that life after death did not end, but had only just begun. The chieftain, believed to have been around 30 years old at the time of his death, did not rest alone in his eternal sleep. Beneath him lay the body of a woman, and surrounding him were the remains of as many as 31 other individuals, who may have been sacrificed to serve him in the afterlife. These bodies were arranged as if they were physically supporting their leader, forming a unique and haunting human platform rich in symbolic meaning. In addition, a child was buried alongside them, dressed in gold-adorned clothing. Archaeologists believe this child was likely the chieftain's son, but that was not all. A vessel filled with the bones of highly poisonous pufferfish was also found near the bodies, raising the possibility that the sacrificial victims may have died from poisoning. Even more puzzling was the discovery of ceramic plates placed upside down over the bodies, each decorated on the underside, as if they had been deliberately designed to conceal death itself. The true meaning behind this practice remains unknown, but it adds yet another layer of mystery surrounding the tomb. Another striking and almost otherworldly detail lies in the creatures carved into the jewelry and burial objects, half-human, half-animal figures. Strange spiritual beings that experts believe may represent ancestors or even manifestations of warrior spirits. Some scholars suggest these figures served a role similar to modern-day mascots, believed to grant strength, courage, and spiritual power in battle. Perhaps this is a fascinating connection between ancient cultures and the modern world, one that leaves us unable to do anything but marvel at the enduring complexity and imagination of human civilization. Steel coffin, beneath the North Sea, holding the remains of 50 British sailors, undisturbed for 80 years. Beneath the freezing waters of the North Sea, where sunlight can barely reach, a steel coffin has lain in silence for nearly 8 decades. This is not a legend nor a work of fiction, but the wreck of HMS Tarpon, a submarine of the British Royal Navy, where 50 young sailors were lost forever, never to return home. When researchers followed faint signals along the seafloor and unexpectedly discovered the vessel about 70 miles off the coast of Denmark, it was as if history had been awakened from a long slumber. The first images captured from the dark depths sent chills down the spine. The submarine's periscope was shattered, its hull scarred with the wounds of war, and several hatches stood wide open, as if still waiting for someone to emerge. Most striking of all were 2 empty torpedo tubes lying motionless, silent witnesses to a deadly battle that unfolded in complete darkness. With just one look, one can almost feel the submarine's final, desperate moments as it came under attack by naval mines. However, what many people may not realize is that behind this dramatic discovery lies a long and persistent journey of research. An international team of experts, led by Gert Norman Andersen, director of the Danish Sea War Museum, along with Dr. Innes McCartney, a maritime archaeologist from Bournemouth University, used advanced sonar technology to scan every section of the seabed. Eventually, HMS Tarpon emerged, lying upright, surrounded by cod swimming nearby, fragments of rope, and fishing nets covered in seaweed, all forming a layer of time that had settled over history itself. The tragic story of HMS Tarpon began in April 1940. The submarine, measuring about 276 feet in length, departed from Rosyth, Scotland, carrying 50 crew members on a mission to intercept merchant ships supplying weapons to Nazi Germany during its occupation of Norway. Just 5 days into the patrol, Tarpon detected the armed merchant vessel Schiff 40 and launched 2 torpedoes. Fate, however, was cruel. Both torpedoes missed their target. That single moment sealed Tarpon's destiny. The German Navy detected the submarine through sonar and immediately launched a counterattack. Depth charges were dropped, and within moments, the submarine and its entire crew were sent down into the icy depths of the sea. There were no survivors, no final goodbyes, only silence that would last for decades. Today, under international regulations, the wreck of HMS Tarpon is officially recognized as a collective war grave. It is not merely an archaeological site, but a powerful symbol of the quiet sacrifices made during World War II. Every rusted steel plate and every crack in the hull carries a story of courage and the terrible cost of war. So what can we do to remember and honor those who gave their lives in this conflict? Perhaps the least we can do is take a moment to reflect on the tireless efforts of researchers, those who not only uncovered the truth behind a long-lost submarine, but also helped restore the dignity and remembrance owed to heroes of a bygone era. The flesh-eating coffins in Turkey that reduce a body to a skeleton in just 40 days. Have you ever heard of a place so strange that it can decompose a human body in just 40 days without any intervention from humans or modern technology? A place that modern science still cannot fully explain, where human remains are reduced to nothing but teeth in an unbelievably short amount of time? If not, then join me in this next discovery, one of the most fascinating and mysterious findings of the ancient world, the Sakara burial complex in the ancient city of Assos, Turkey, a site often referred to as the rapid decomposition tomb. Brace yourself, because the story you're about to hear may force you to rethink the limits of modern science. Located in the ancient city of Assos, an important archaeological site along the Aegean coast, the Sakara burial complex not only carries the mysterious beauty of antiquity, but also conceals a baffling phenomenon that has left scientists searching for answers for decades. According to archaeologists, the tomb dates back at least 2,700 years, meaning it originated in the era of ancient Greece and may have served as the burial site for powerful figures of the region. What makes this site truly extraordinary is the following. Bodies buried in this tomb decompose at an extremely rapid rate. Within approximately 40 days, the body nearly disappears entirely, leaving behind only the teeth. This process is especially shocking because there is no evidence of embalming, preservation techniques, or any form of human intervention. Everything occurs naturally, yet at a speed that defies conventional scientific understanding. Scientists have proposed several hypotheses to explain this phenomenon. The most widely discussed theory suggests that the unusually high concentration of pure aluminum within the tomb's structure may be responsible. Under the tomb's unique environmental conditions, possibly involving temperature, humidity, or specific chemical reactions, this aluminum may react intensely, even generating significant heat, causing human flesh and bone to break down at an accelerated rate. However, despite years of study, no research has been able to definitively confirm this explanation. As a result, the phenomenon remains a major unanswered question for researchers in archaeology, science, and molecular biology alike. So, could it be that ancient people possessed a unique decomposition technique that we have yet to understand? Or does this site contain an entirely unknown environmental factor, one never documented in any scientific literature? These questions have lingered over Assos for thousands of years. Each year, hundreds of archaeologists and scientists continue to visit the site, hoping to uncover the truth buried deep beneath the ground. But as you may have guessed, the mystery has yet to be fully solved. For anyone who loves history and is passionate about unsolved mysteries, the Sakara burial complex is truly a destination not to be missed. And who knows, perhaps in the not-so-distant future, you, or someone among us, will be the one to discover the key that unlocks a secret sealed away for more than 2 millennia. Ghost ships, stranded in the desert, reveal the Aral Sea tragedy and a warning for humanity. In the middle of a vast desert where sand stretches all the way to the horizon, an unbelievable sight suddenly appears before your eyes. Rusted steel ships lying abandoned under the blazing sun and wind, as if they had stepped straight out of a science fiction movie. No waves, no water, no harbor, only sand and wind. What would you think? Many people, seeing this for the first time, can't help but exclaim, "How can ships end up lost in the middle of a desert? That's impossible." But the truth is even more heartbreaking than imagination, because these ships are the remaining traces of the Aral Sea, once one of the most prosperous bodies of water in Central Asia. Just a few decades ago, this place was considered a blue gold mine for Uzbekistan and neighboring regions. The Aral Sea once covered an area of nearly 27,000 square miles, ranking among the largest inland seas in the world. Fish were abundant, ships came and went constantly, and coastal communities lived comfortably year-round by fishing and trading seafood. These vessels once cut through open waters, carrying hope, livelihoods, and the future of countless generations. Yet, on the scale of cosmic time, in what feels like only a blink of an eye, the Aral Sea nearly vanished. Today, the area still covered by water has shrunk to about 1,930 square miles, broken into 4 small, disconnected lakes. Fish stocks collapsed, the water steadily retreated, and what remained were sorrowful shipwrecks left exposed in an endless sea of sand. In reality, the Aral Sea was technically a massive lake, but its enormous size led people to refer to it as a sea. The root cause of its destruction began with strategic decisions made by the former Soviet Union. Starting in the 1940s, large-scale irrigation systems were constructed to divert water from the Aral Sea to irrigate surrounding deserts for cotton farming and agriculture. At first, everything seemed to work well, but the cost was far greater than anyone had anticipated. By the 1960s, the Aral Sea's water level was dropping by more than 8 inches per year. In the 1970s, that figure increased to about 24 inches annually. By the 1980s, as irrigation demands continued to grow, the water level fell at a record rate of nearly 35 inches per year. At that point, the Aral Sea was almost completely drained, with nothing left to give to humanity. The fishing industry collapsed entirely, agriculture struggled, and countless coastal communities were forced to abandon their homes. Ships that could no longer sail were left behind, gradually swallowed by sand, turning into ghost ships stranded in the desert. In 1991, when Uzbekistan separated from Russia, water unexpectedly began to return to certain areas, but the relief was short-lived. Decades of excessive chemical use in agriculture had polluted the remaining water, severely affecting the health of local residents. Serious diseases such as tuberculosis and even cancer began to rise, turning an environmental disaster into a humanitarian crisis. Since 2005, major efforts have been made to restore parts of the Aral Sea. A dam was built in hopes of raising water levels, reducing salinity, and bringing life back to the former lakebed. Even so, this recovery process requires immense time, effort, and long-term cooperation. 5,000-year-old stone tomb preserving ancient beliefs beneath the soil of Spain. Hidden deep beneath the ground in the town of Trigueros, in the Andalusia region of Spain, lies a structure that, at first glance, gives no hint that an entire mysterious ancient world exists below the surface. This is the Soto Dolmen, often described as Stonehenge beneath the ground. The tomb dates back 4,500 to 5,000 years, a time when humans were still in the early stages of developing agricultural civilization in Europe. From the outside, the Soto Dolmen appears to be nothing more than a modest, circular earthen mound, resting quietly within the natural landscape. But once you pass through its entrance, aligned along an east-west axis, everything begins to change. A long stone corridor leads deep underground, opening into an increasingly wide burial chamber, like a hidden gallery constructed entirely from massive stone slabs. It was here that archaeologists discovered 8 sets of ancient human remains, along with numerous artifacts such as cups, bowls, plates, daggers, and even marine fossils, objects that reveal the rich spiritual and material lives of Neolithic communities. What truly sets the Soto Dolmen apart from hundreds of other burial sites in Huelva, however, lies in the upright stone slabs lining the corridor and the chamber itself. These stones are covered with ancient engravings and carvings, human figures, knives, cups, circles, and complex geometric patterns. Each carving feels like a message sent from the past, offering glimpses into the beliefs, rituals, and worldview of the people who built this monument. To this day, the origins of Neolithic stone tombs in Europe remain a major unanswered question. We know that the Neolithic Revolution began around 10,000 BCE in the Middle East, but how megalithic burial architecture spread and flourished across Europe is still unclear. By the 5th and 4th millennia BCE, passage graves like Soto became increasingly common, possibly originating in Eastern Europe before spreading to the Iberian Peninsula and later expanding along the Atlantic coast. The Soto Dolmen was discovered quite by chance in 1923 when Soto Morillas planned to build a house on his land. Realizing something unusual lay beneath the surface, he contacted German archaeologist Hugo Obermeier, who carried out excavations and detailed documentation of the site between 1924 and 1926. Although Andalusia is home to around 1,650 similar burial sites, Soto stands out due to its independent architecture, rather than being part of a dense burial complex like many others. Inside the tomb, the corridor and burial chamber form a continuous space that gradually widens inward. The stone pillars not only serve a structural purpose, but also act as canvases for megalithic art. In recent years, researchers from Portugal, Spain, and the United Kingdom have returned to the Soto Dolmen using modern technology. Through techniques such as Raman spectroscopy and advanced imaging, They discovered that more than 60% of the stone pillars bear engravings and traces of pigment, primarily red ochre, a coloring material commonly used in prehistoric times. Interestingly, not all of the carvings were created at the same time. Some were reused from older standing stones, while others were engraved during or after the construction of the tomb. The application of red pigment appears to have been intentional, meant to highlight certain symbols. Whether this was done simply for visibility or for deeper ritual and spiritual reasons remains an open question. As you can see, the Soto Dolmen, with everything that has survived, is far more than just a burial monument. It is like a stone book in which ancient people recorded their worldview, beliefs, and social transformations. And the deeper we explore it, the more we realize that beneath that silent earth, many secrets are still waiting to be uncovered, aren't they? 14th century lead coffin, discovered beneath Notre Dame shocks Paris. Directly beneath the ancient stone floor of Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, a place walked by thousands of visitors every day, French archaeologists made an extraordinary historical discovery during excavations for the restoration of the bell tower. On March 14, 2022, the French Ministry of Culture officially announced the find, and Paris seemed to pause, listening to the story emerging from deep beneath the earth. The discovery revealed an ancient tomb containing a remarkably well-preserved, full-length lead coffin. Shaped to fit the human body perfectly, this type of burial was extremely rare, typically reserved for high-ranking figures in medieval society. Experts believe the person inside may have been an important cleric of the cathedral, buried around the early 1300s, not long after Notre Dame's completion. What makes this discovery even more remarkable is its location. The burial of a prominent individual directly beneath the cathedral floor highlights the close connection between religious authority and architecture during that period. Every stone of the floor, every soaring column above, seems to rest upon a story that has never been fully told. The excavation also uncovered fragments of a painted sculpture dating back to the 13th century. Some of these fragments had previously been discovered during mid-19th century restorations and are now preserved in the Louvre Museum. With the newly found pieces, the historical picture of Notre Dame becomes even clearer, showing that the cathedral has long been not only a religious site, but also a living repository of artistic heritage spanning centuries. It is impossible to discuss Notre Dame without recalling the tragic fire of April 15, 2019, which destroyed much of the roof and bell tower, melting roughly 660,000 pounds of lead roofing and causing severe air pollution across Paris. The disaster left the world holding its breath, fearing that a historic symbol might be lost forever. Yet, from those ashes began a new journey. The French government launched a massive restoration project with determination to return Notre Dame to its former glory, and ironically, it was during this revival that ancient secrets gradually emerged, as if the past itself was speaking. Thus, the discovery of the tomb and lead coffin is not just an archaeological find. It is like a doorway into Paris more than 700 years ago, a place where religion, art, and power were closely intertwined. Each new discovery beneath the cathedral raises the question, how many more stories remain hidden beneath these stones? Perhaps Notre Dame is not only a place to look up at soaring arches, but also a reminder that history sometimes lies quietly at our feet, waiting for us to bend down and listen. Millennium-old Viking. Ghost ships, carrying human remains unearthed on Danish island. Imagine walking on a peaceful island in Denmark, your feet crunching on weeds and cold stone. Would you ever suspect that beneath you lies an entire fleet of ancient ships filled with human remains? No waves, no sea breeze, but the traces of legendary voyages remain perfectly preserved underground. This astonishing story comes from Kalvestein on the island of Hjarno, where archaeologists have uncovered one of the most shocking Viking discoveries in history. During excavations, they found 10 ghost ships buried side by side, dating from around 800 to 1050 AD, the golden age of the Vikings, when they ruled the North Seas with longships and boundless expeditions. What sends chills down researchers' spines is the precise positioning and arrangement of these ships, which almost perfectly matches a 17th century drawing by Ole Worm, a Danish physician and natural historian. In his sketch, Worm depicted 2 Viking ship burial sites containing about 20 graves in total. For centuries, only one site had been confirmed, while the second seemed lost to history. Now, the 10 ghost ships at Galveston are considered the clearest evidence of the second burial site in Worm's drawing. This discovery is particularly significant because it connects directly to the unique Viking burial tradition. For the Vikings, a ship was not only a vessel for travel, but also a symbol of power, honor, and the journey to the afterlife. Only elite warriors, nobles, or high-ranking individuals were buried in ships. The deceased were placed inside with daily use items, goods, weapons, and precious belongings, all prepared for the final voyage. In some cases, Vikings were interred in longships tens of meters in length, vessels that had once sailed the open seas. Once lowered into the ground, these ships became giant coffins, silently recounting the life stories of people bound to the waves. This allows archaeologists to trace Viking life, how they valued seafaring, structured their societies, and why the sea was central to all economic activity. It is worth noting that Galveston is not unique. Similar ghost ships have been found in other parts of northern Europe, showing the Vikings' intimate relationship with long maritime voyages. Their economy relied heavily on piracy and trading valuable goods such as metals, furs, and amber. The sea was both a path to wealth and a determinant of fate. The excavation on Hjarno, however, is only the beginning. Researchers plan larger-scale excavations in the future, hoping to uncover additional ship burials. Perhaps all 20 graves once sketched by Ole Worm will eventually surface, completing the picture of a vast underground Viking cemetery. These ships no longer sail, but their stories continue to drift through time. Each ghost ship discovered serves as a reminder that some civilizations lived and died with the sea, and even after more than 1,000 years, their footprints remain etched beneath our very steps today. Do you feel the same way? One-year-old boy's coffin keeps opening on its own in Argentina. If you believe in mysterious stories and unexplainable phenomena, the story of El Angelito, a boy whose coffin reportedly opens on its own after death, will make you reconsider the strange events that cannot be explained by ordinary logic. The story begins 50 years ago, when a boy named El Angelito died from meningitis, just weeks before his first birthday. He was buried in a small cemetery in Banda, Florida, a quiet town in northwest Argentina. However, something strange happened. Just 7 years after his burial, the soil covering El Angelito's grave suddenly turned over, as if someone were trying to escape from the coffin. At first, his parents thought that strong storms or heavy rain might be the cause, but even after the weather returned to normal, the phenomenon continued, and no reasonable explanation could be found. El Angelito's mother shared, "We thought our son didn't want to be buried in the dark, that he wanted to see the light, to see people." As a result, the family decided to replace the coffin lid with glass, thinking it would allow their son to see the world around him. It was an unusual decision, but it made sense given the series of unbelievable events that had occurred. The extraordinary events did not stop there. El Angelito became a phenomenon, attracting thousands of visitors from all over Argentina. Even 50 years later, his body remains remarkably well preserved, showing no signs of decomposition like any ordinary corpse. Even more astonishing, the coffin still reportedly opens on its own, as if the boy were demonstrating some supernatural power. El Angelito has become a mystical symbol, believed by many to have the ability to perform miracles. Stories of miraculous events after visiting his grave continue to spread. For example, a man named Daniel Saavedra shared that after praying at the boy's grave, he fully recovered from a severe pancreatic illness. Many others have recounted miraculous experiences after touching El Angelito's body, and some people believe that just being near his grave can bring luck or healing. Today, even though no one can explain these strange occurrences, the story of El Angelito continues to capture the attention of those who believe he can perform miracles. Whether you believe it or not, El Angelito has become an indelible part of Argentina's folklore. Of course, this story raises a bigger question. Do miracles truly exist beyond the reach of science? Does El Angelito possess supernatural powers? Or is this simply a mystery that has yet to be explained? What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Grinning Mummy Cemetery in Peru. In the arid deserts of Peru, just about 19 miles from the city of Nazca, there lies a strange and ancient cemetery where the skeletons seem to wear permanent wide grins. This is the Chowchilla Cemetery, home to dry human remains that have survived for over 1,000 years, sending chills down the spines of locals whenever it is mentioned. Belonging to the famous Nazca civilization, Chowchilla was discovered in the early 20th century, yet it still holds many unsolved mysteries. Archaeologists believe the cemetery began around the 9th century, serving as a burial site for the Nazca people, who interred their dead according to special rituals. The strangest aspect is that the skeletons were not only buried in a seated, upright position, but their mouths were deliberately arranged into wide, open smiles, a phenomenon that has yet to be fully explained. Adding to the mystery, the skeleton's hair remains intact and soft even after more than a millennium, leaving scientists puzzled. Experts speculate that the dry, hot climate of the Nazca Desert preserved the remains exceptionally well, despite the absence of any embalming techniques. The Nazca civilization, renowned for its intricate geometric ground designs and unique artwork, flourished roughly from 100 BCE to 800 CE. Yet, it vanished quietly without leaving a clear explanation. One theory suggests that desertification and climate changes contributed to the decline of this ancient culture. For centuries, Chowchilla Cemetery was buried under desert sands, only to be rediscovered during excavations in the 20th century, revealing these mysterious grinning skeletons. Although the site suffered from repeated looting, which removed much of the grave goods, it remains a fascinating and mysterious destination for archaeologists. Each skeleton with its wide grin serves as a reminder of a mysterious culture, filled with rituals and beliefs that modern society still cannot fully explain. Yet questions remain. How were these burials carried out? What special customs did the Nazca people follow? What secrets are hidden beneath the desert sands? It may take archaeologists many more years before the full answers are revealed. The 3,300-year-old claw of a flightless bird. You've probably heard of prehistoric giants like dinosaurs or mammoths. But did you know that less than 30 years ago, archaeologists discovered a bizarre living relic right beneath the soil of New Zealand? It was a massive claw, still covered in skin, as if it had been detached from a creature that had died just a few days ago. This astonishing discovery was found in a deep cave on Mount Owen, leaving the scientific community completely stunned. So how could a piece of dried remains survive nearly 3,300 years while still retaining soft tissue? And which mysterious creature left behind such a strange trace? The answer lies with the Highland moa, a prehistoric flightless bird that went extinct centuries ago but once ruled the grasslands of New Zealand. Yes, you heard that right. Moas, whose ancestors first appeared about 18.5 million years ago, were not just a single species. They were a group of at least 10 different species, each with its own size and characteristics. Among them, the dwarf of the moa family, Megalapteryx didynus, the Highland moa, was the most unique. Standing only about 4.3 feet tall, it was the smallest yet most enduring of the moa lineage. Unlike any modern bird, moas had no wings, no tails, and their bodies were covered in thick feathers, an adaptation to the cool climate of New Zealand's high mountains. They lived in dense forests, grasslands, and rugged rocky terrain. Every step a moa took left a historical imprint on the wilderness of this island nation. Their lives were once peaceful, with their only predator being the Haast's eagle, the largest bird of prey ever known, which could easily strike from the sky. But the fate of the moa changed forever when Polynesian settlers arrived in New Zealand around the 13th century. Human arrival brought uncontrolled hunting, habitat destruction, and disruption of the delicate natural balance. Even though moas had survived millions of years of geological and climate changes, they could not withstand the destruction caused by the planet's most intelligent species. One particularly heartbreaking fact is that adult moas matured very slowly, taking many years to reach reproductive age. This slow growth meant they could not reproduce fast enough to replace those being hunted. Eventually, moas completely disappeared, long before Europeans arrived in New Zealand in 1760. Today, the surviving specimens, feathers, skin, and even muscles found in caves, swamps, and deserts serve as vivid evidence of the giant birds that once ruled these lands. Each discovery, like the claw on Mount Owen, not only helps us understand the past, but also serves as a haunting reminder that extinction is not a distant concept. It can happen in a single decision, a single action, or within one generation. Gonur Tepe, the city swallowed by the desert and the forgotten Bronze Age. Civilization. Amid the endless sands of the Karakum Desert, where the hot winds sweep across lifeless dunes, there lies a place that becomes eerily fascinating the more you learn about it. Not because of ghosts, but because beneath that dry layer of sand once existed a bustling, thriving city, far more developed than we usually imagine for the ancient world. This is Gonur Tepe, a desolate ruin that holds the story of an entire civilization lost over 4,000 years ago. Rewind to the Bronze Age, and Gonur Tepe was anything but empty. It was a densely populated fortress town, a hub of power and daily life across a vast region. Thousands of people lived, worked, and built their lives here, until it was all buried under centuries of dust and sand. It wasn't until about 40 years ago that Soviet archaeologists stumbled upon Gonur Tepe, opening a direct window into the distant past. The first thing that strikes you is the sheer scale of the site. Gonur Tepe spreads across more than 75 acres, so vast that from the ground it's hard to grasp its entirety. Only from above does the city's structure reveal itself, a gigantic maze in the middle of the desert. Thick, high walls surround the residential areas, showing that this place was heavily fortified, like a true ancient stronghold. Of course, Gonur Tepe's impressive growth wasn't random. The settlement sat at the center of a network of towns and communities along the Murghab River Delta, which once flowed through Turkmenistan from its source in Afghanistan. Around 2000 BCE, Gonur Tepe became the main settlement of the Margiana region, one of the most advanced civilizations of the Bronze Age, yet largely unknown in mainstream history. Artifacts found at Gonur Tepe force us to rethink the sophistication of ancient peoples. Craftsmen here were highly skilled. They knew how to smelt metals, cast gold and silver into ingots, craft intricate ceremonial items, and master techniques for working with bone and stone. This shows that Gonur Tepe rivaled the great centers of civilization of its time, including Mesopotamia and Egypt. A few hundred miles away lies another enigmatic piece of Central Asian history, the ruins of Merv. This city once held immense importance under the Persian Empire and reached its peak in the 12th century CE under Turkic rule. Yet Merv's fate was equally tragic, devastated by the Mongol invasion in 1221, beginning an irreversible period of decline. The rare surviving gem at Merv is the Seljuk Sultan Sanjar Mausoleum, with a diameter of over 56 feet. It is considered revolutionary in dome architecture, predating the famous ideas of Renaissance architect Filippo Brunelleschi by nearly 300 years, enough to make researchers view Central Asia in an entirely new light. Estimates suggest that the regions around Gonur Tepe and Merv alone contain about 354 archaeological sites, with roughly 95% still largely unexplored. This means that beneath the seemingly lifeless desert sands, countless stories remain untold. Today, Gonur Tepe may appear quiet and desolate, but its past continues to whisper, waiting for those patient enough to listen and decode its secrets. Fascinating, isn't it? Byzantine burial complex, over 1,500 years old, hidden beneath Syria. In what seemed at first like a routine part of a reconstruction project in Syria, a stunning archaeological discovery unexpectedly emerged from the ground. A burial complex over 1,500 years old, hidden deep beneath the ruins of a house destroyed during the war. The site is located in the town of Marat al-Numan in Idlib province, considered a strategic crossroads between Syria's two largest cities, Aleppo and Damascus. It was on this war-torn land that, as workers removed old gray concrete, ancient stone seams were revealed, marking the beginning of a promising archaeological journey back to the Byzantine era, one of the most brilliant post-Roman civilizations. As soon as signs of the ancient structures appeared, local residents immediately notified the Provincial Directorate of Antiquities. Within a short time, a team of experts was dispatched to the site to secure and conduct the initial excavation. Beneath what had once been a heavily damaged residential area, beside a collapsed house, a deep pit opened unexpectedly, leading down to two stone burial chambers, each containing 6 intricately carved tombs. One of the most striking features is a stone column engraved with a cross, a religious symbol directly linking the site to the Christian faith, which thrived in this region during Byzantine times. According to Hassan al-Ismail, director of the Idlib Antiquities Authority, Based on the cross motif along with shards of ceramics and glass found at the site, experts have confirmed that the burial complex dates to the Byzantine period, an empire that emerged in the 4th century CE, following the fall of the Roman Empire, and established Constantinople, now Istanbul, as its capital. The discovery of this burial complex is not only vivid evidence of the Byzantine Empire's extensive influence in Syria, but also a priceless addition to the already rich archaeological heritage of Idlib province. In fact, Idlib, though a relatively small province, boasts over 800 archaeological sites, accounting for roughly 1/3 of all known heritage sites across Syria. Ironically, this heritage-rich region has been at the center of conflict for more than a decade. The so-called dead cities, abandoned Byzantine settlements, still lie scattered across the hills and plains of northwestern Syria, with limestone ruins that bear the marks of time. Ancient houses, basilica-style churches, and streets flanked by rows of towering stone columns, serving as immortal witnesses to a bygone era. It is worth noting that not all local residents have been willing to share archaeological discoveries on their land. Ghayath Sheikh Diab, a local resident and witness to this historic find, revealed that in the past, many landowners deliberately hid discoveries out of fear of confiscation. He hopes that with new policies, authorities can provide proper support and compensation, protecting heritage without disadvantaging locals. Similarly, Abed Jafar, another resident of Ma'arat al-Numan, recalled that there was once a time when international tourists flocked to the area to admire the ancient ruins. Now, as the flames of conflict gradually subside, the restoration and preservation of these priceless ruins could not only revive tourism, but also bring life back to the local community, emerging from these silent stones. From 12 shocking and mysterious, recent archaeological discoveries that could rewrite world history. More than 200 skeletal remains of Napoleonic soldiers, revealing a chilling dark chapter of European history. Have you ever wondered how many untold historical stories might still be silently resting beneath the bustling streets of modern-day Europe? If not, then come with me to the city of Frankfurt, Germany, because here, a shocking discovery has recently come to light, one that has sent ripples through the archaeological community and captivated history enthusiasts alike. During what initially appeared to be a routine excavation, archaeologists uncovered more than 200 skeletal remains of French soldiers who once served under Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. This information was officially announced on September 17th, directly at the excavation site, under the supervision of Olaf Kunitz, director of the Frankfurt City Planning Department. Just hearing this, many of you might already be wondering, why were French soldiers buried in Germany, and what exactly happened to them? According to researchers, these approximately 200 soldiers were buried together in wooden coffins that remain surprisingly well preserved. This preservation has allowed their bones to stay almost intact after more than 2 centuries beneath the ground. It may seem like a small detail, but it opens the door to a much larger picture of Europe's turbulent past during the Napoleonic era. Historians believe these soldiers may have taken part in Napoleon's invasion of Russia in 1812, one of the most disastrous campaigns in his military career. After the crushing defeat and the brutal retreat through freezing conditions, not all soldiers died on Russian soil. Some managed to return to Europe, only to be swept back into the relentless cycle of war, and Frankfurt may have become their final resting place. In October 1813, a major battle connected to the War of the Sixth Coalition took place near Frankfurt. This battle marked a devastating defeat for Napoleon's army, with an estimated 15,000 soldiers killed. Try to imagine the chaos of that time. Smoke-filled battlefields, wounded soldiers, rampant disease, and death lurking everywhere. The soldiers buried in Frankfurt may have died from battle injuries or succumbed to widespread illness. Most notably, rickettsia fever, a disease transmitted by lice, ravaged Napoleon's armies throughout multiple campaigns. Without a single sword being raised, disease alone was capable of bringing down even the most powerful military forces. Hearing this, doesn't warfare in the past seem far harsher than we often imagine? So far, archaeologists have excavated around 30 sets of remains, with the rest expected to be recovered over the next 4 to 6 weeks. All of the bodies were found inside wooden coffins, indicating an organized burial rather than a hastily dug mass grave on a battlefield. This discovery is far more than the unearthing of ancient bones. It is like a doorway opening back into the past, helping us better understand the lives, deaths, and extreme hardships faced by soldiers under Napoleon's command. Each skeleton represents an unfinished story, a human fate caught in the massive turning wheel of history. So if these bones could speak, what do you think they would tell us? Stories of glory, of fear, or simply of a desperate desire to survive and return home? It's hard to say, isn't it? And yet, it's precisely these unanswered questions that make the Frankfurt discovery so haunting and so compelling. A 4,000-year-old squatting skeleton of an ancient woman buried beneath Germany. Some archaeological discoveries are enough to send shivers down your spine just by hearing about them. And the 4,000-year-old squatting skeleton found in Germany is definitely one of them. No gold, no accompanying artifacts, just a lone skeleton quietly resting underground. Yet it raises a host of questions that continue to puzzle experts to this day. The story begins on a plot of land near the village of Bietigau, in the state of Brandenburg, Germany. Before wind turbines were built there, a proper archaeological excavation was conducted. It was during this excavation that Philip Roskoshinsky, from the consulting firm Archaeos, along with Christoph Rizagata, discovered a skeleton in a remarkably unusual position. As soon as this information was made public, it quickly drew the attention of archaeologists and researchers around the world. According to Dr. Christoph Krauskopf of the Brandenburg State Heritage and Museum Authority, the skeleton belonged to a woman, positioned in a squatting posture, leaning slightly to the right, with her head facing east. At this point, many of you might be asking, why would people in ancient times bury someone in such an unusual position? In archaeology, burial posture often carries significant meaning, relating to beliefs, customs, or the social circumstances of the era. However, this case is even more mysterious because the grave contains no accompanying artifacts, no pottery, no stone tools, no jewelry, and no obvious ritual markers. This leaves archaeologists with almost no direct clues to determine the grave's exact age. Nevertheless, based on the remaining features, experts believe the skeleton is over 4,000 years old. The prevailing hypothesis is that the woman was buried during the Neolithic period, roughly between 2,500 and 2,200 BCE. This was a time when humans were beginning to settle, practice agriculture, and form the first communities in Europe. But the farther we look back, the murkier the picture becomes. Of course, what continues to puzzle researchers is not just the age of the skeleton, but the squatting burial posture, which has never been fully explained. Was this a special ritual reserved for this woman? Did she hold a particular status within her community? Or could the posture be linked to an ancient spiritual belief that is no longer understood today? At present, due to limited evidence, scientists plan to conduct further in-depth studies. Carbon dating will help clarify the time of her death. Genetic testing could reveal her ancestry, familial relationships, and even certain biological traits. Most intriguingly, strontium isotope analysis of her teeth is expected to shed light on the environment she grew up in and the places she lived throughout her life. As you can see, so much remains mysterious. A single skeleton lying silently underground for thousands of years opens up an entire series of unanswered questions. So, what do you think? Was this simply a normal burial practice of the time, or does it hide a special story behind it? And if this skeleton could speak, what might it tell us about the long-lost world of ancient times? Strange mummy in a 6,000-year-old tomb. Hidden beneath the blazing golden sands of the Egyptian desert, the Sakara archaeological site has once again astonished the world. The latest discoveries here are not just pieces of history, they are doorways to a mysterious civilization where stories thousands of years old are waiting to be told. Over a 6-month excavation, archaeologists uncovered 7 ancient tombs buried deep beneath the slopes south of Cairo. What makes these tombs particularly remarkable are the dozens of mummified cats, rare scarab mummies, unusual statues, and limestone sarcophagi that have remained intact for 6,000 years. Did you know that in ancient Egyptian belief, cats were revered almost as divine beings? They were not only companions, but also sacred protectors, often mummified and offered to the gods. In 3 tombs specifically dedicated to cat burials, researchers discovered over 100 gilded wooden cat statues, along with a solid bronze statue of the cat goddess Bastet. Even more fascinating, Alongside these cat statues were representations of lions, hawks, and bulls, sacred symbols of power and strength in ancient Egyptian culture. But that's not the strangest part. Inside a rectangular limestone sarcophagus discovered recently, archaeologists found a mummified scarab beetle. Yes, this tiny insect, seemingly insignificant, played a vital role in ancient Egyptian spiritual life. For them, the scarab symbolized rebirth and the transformation of the soul after death. This is the first time archaeologists have found a perfectly preserved scarab mummy inside a sarcophagus sealed with artwork depicting the beetle itself, a rare and unique artifact. The discoveries don't stop there. One of the remaining 4 tombs has been identified as belonging to Khufu Imhotep, who once supervised palaces within the royal court. This tomb dates to the 5th dynasty, around 2500 to 2350 BCE, shortly after the Great Pyramid of Giza was completed. Mustafa Waziri, Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Egyptian Antiquities, noted that the tomb is likely still largely intact, and the team will continue excavating in the coming weeks, potentially revealing even more astonishing finds. In addition to mummies and statues, archaeologists unearthed an array of extraordinary artifacts, including cobra and crocodile-shaped wooden sarcophagi, intricate necklaces, ancient writing tools, canopic jars used for preserving organs, and various amulets with complex designs. Together, these artifacts form a magical mosaic, reviving a glorious civilization that once ruled for over 2 millennia. These discoveries are not only invaluable for archaeology, they also represent a ray of hope for Egyptian tourism after years of political instability. With international visitors increasing by 54% in the past year, local authorities hope Sakara will become a major center of exploration, drawing tourists back to the journey of uncovering the memories of ancient pharaohs. Sakara is not just a cemetery, it is a hidden treasure trove, still full of secrets. Every excavation is like a reversal of time, taking us back to a distant past where untold stories are waiting to be awakened. If you love exploration and enjoy uncovering the mysteries of the past, a journey to Sakara would be an absolutely ideal adventure. Alien skulls and the mysterious Nazi briefcase. When people hear Nazi Germany, they often think of the familiar villains portrayed in movies and novels. But what made the organization so haunting was not only war and atrocities, it was also the bizarre, mysterious stories that circulated on the sidelines. From strange experiments to ambitions of acquiring powers beyond human comprehension, the Nazis were always linked to secrets that continue to intrigue generations. The story we're about to explore might even exceed your imagination. It all began quietly in 2014, when an expedition led by Russian scientist Vladimir Melikov ventured deep into the Caucasus Mountains, a region famous for its rugged terrain and unusual legends. During this journey, the team approached Mount Bolshoi, considered a hotspot for unexplained phenomena. And then, in a freezing cave beneath the roots of an ancient tree, they made a discovery that left everyone stunned. Before them were 2 identical skulls, unlike any previously recorded. Remarkably, these skulls did not belong to any known local animal species, and they were certainly not human. At first, scientists suspected they might be fossils of an extinct animal. But upon closer examination, this hypothesis quickly faltered. One researcher in the team described the skulls as entirely unlike anything belonging to humans. At the base of each skull was a round hole, possibly the connection point to a spine, suggesting the creature moved on 2 legs. However, what made them truly unusual was the absence of a cranial vault and jaw, combined with enormously large eye sockets. The facial bones were flat, reminiscent of certain hominids. Putting all these features together, it is hard not to ask a bold question. Could these be the remains of an extraterrestrial being? While the skulls continue to spark debate among scientists, another discovery nearby added an even creepier twist. In the surrounding forest, the team found a large brown leather-handled briefcase. Although it looked very old, it remained remarkably intact, as if it had only recently been left behind. If one ignores the historical timeline, inside the briefcase was a collection of documents that startled everyone. There was a photograph of a soldier wearing a peaked cap and Nazi uniform, bearing the insignia of the Edelweiss Mountain Division, along with several colorful maps drawn by Germans in 1941. The proximity of these documents to the mysterious skulls quickly raised a host of questions. Had the Nazis ever been in this area for a special purpose? Did they know something about beings not from Earth? Or was it all just a coincidence, later embroidered over time? To this day, there is no verified evidence linking the Nazis to extraterrestrials. Yet the combination of these unusual skulls and the historically marked briefcase remains a tantalizing mystery. Perhaps it is precisely this lack of explanation that makes the story so compelling. So, which hypothesis would you lean toward? A hidden secret of history, or merely a chain of extraordinary coincidences? Share your thoughts and let's discuss. A rare frozen alpine ibex mummy in the Alps. You've probably heard about ancient Egyptian mummies or archaeological relics thousands of years old, but beyond those stories, there's another tale I want to share with you. This is the story of a mummified alpine ibex, discovered in Val Arena, in the Alps of South Tyrol, Italy. According to reports, a group of mountaineers accidentally came across the ibex, lying motionless beneath a thick layer of snow and ice, perfectly preserved for roughly 400 years. The first person to recognize the significance of this discovery was Hermann Oberlechner, a specialist participating in the survey team. He immediately contacted local authorities, initiating a swift and precise operation to protect the priceless specimen from damage by the external environment. When it was found, only half of the animal's body was visible above the white snow. Its dry skin, entirely devoid of fur, created an eerie impression. Oberlechner remarked that he had never seen anything like it in his entire career. However, the journey of the ibex mummy did not end there. Its location was extremely remote, accessible only via a combination of climbing and several hours of hiking, making the transport of the specimen a major challenge. With the assistance of a helicopter from the Italian authorities, the ibex was eventually safely transported to the Urac Research Center, where it is now stored in a specialized cold chamber for scientific study. What excites scientists is not only the animal itself, but also the research potential it offers. Marco Samadelli, a conservation expert, said, "We now fully understand the optimal physical and chemical conditions for preserving mummies, and this is a perfect opportunity to test them in practice." After enduring the extreme cold for centuries, the ibex's DNA has undergone changes that modern science still cannot fully explain. This allows researchers to conduct in-depth analyses, helping to understand how natural conditions affect biological material over time. Albert Zink, head of the Urac Research Mummy Department, also commented, "Our goal is to develop a global preservation protocol for ice mummies, something that has never been done before for animals. This is the first time in history that an animal mummy is being studied as a living model to develop new conservation techniques, from DNA extraction to long-term storage systems." Unlike artificially mummified animals in ancient Egypt, ice mummies like this alpine ibex are naturally preserved by weather and environmental conditions rather than human intervention. This gives the specimen unique value, not only for archaeology, but also for research in biology, medicine, and the conservation of ancient remains. Currently, the ibex is undergoing detailed evaluation at the Urac Conservation Laboratory, which specializes in ice mummy preservation. The ultimate goal is to maintain DNA integrity, unlocking ancient secrets and contributing to future discoveries. If you ever thought mummies only existed in movies about pyramids, the story of this frozen alpine ibex will completely change your perspective. This is not just an ancient animal, it is a window into the past, where every strand of DNA may tell a story we have never heard before. The mass grave of 9,000 soldiers and the chilling truth about Europe's bloodiest 17th century war. Did you know that nearly 4 centuries have passed since the guns and swords of the 30 Years' War fell silent? Yet beneath the soil of Germany, untold stories remain buried, waiting to be awakened. In the town of Lutzen, once the site of a brutal battlefield, scientists have opened a window into the past, where the deaths of thousands of soldiers are recorded not in history books, but in their very bones. According to newly published research, approximately 9,000 soldiers were buried in a mass grave at Lutzen in 1632. The sheer number alone is enough to send chills down anyone's spine. These men fought in the 30 Years' War, a religious conflict between Catholics and Protestants that raged from 1618 to 1648 across the Holy Roman Empire. Most battles occurred in Germany and Central Europe, turning the region into a firestorm for decades. Beyond warfare, famine and disease also claimed countless lives. What was uncovered at Lutzen, however, paints a picture far more harrowing than we could have imagined. In 2011, archaeologists discovered a massive mass grave here. To excavate the remains, they had to remove a 55-ton block of soil. Among the thousands of skeletons, scientists conducted detailed analyses of 47 soldiers' skeletons, and the results were shocking. The study, published on PLOS1, revealed that many soldiers bore cuts from swords and knives, a common sight on battlefields of the era. However, what stood out was that a large number of deaths were not caused by cold steel, but by gunfire. More than half of the soldiers in the study died from bullets. 21 had head injuries, and notably, 11 skeletons still contained bullets lodged in their skulls. Researchers note that such a high number of gunshot wounds is extremely rare for the 17th century. Although firearms existed, swords remained the primary weapon in close combat. Nicole Nicklish, lead scientist of the study, explained that guns were not yet widespread enough to be the main weapon on the battlefield. Therefore, the unusually high number of soldiers killed by bullets raises questions about the combat tactics used in the Battle of Lutzen in 1632. Another curious detail: 2 skeletons were found with bullets still in their mouths. This reflects a common practice of the time, when soldiers would hold bullets in their mouths to reload their guns quickly amid the chaos of battle. A small but vivid glimpse into the stress and urgency on the battlefield. Further analysis revealed that many soldiers had healed head injuries, showing they had survived previous battles only to fall in this final conflict. Small fragments of clothing found in the grave suggest that their uniforms had been stripped before burial, possibly for reuse by other soldiers. Researchers also confirmed that most of the remains belonged to soldiers fighting for the Swedish army during the war. These men came from different regions, carrying their beliefs, ideals, and ultimately, fates buried beneath the earth for centuries. The mass grave at Lutzen is not only evidence of a battle, it is a chilling reminder of the true cost of war. Standing at the site, would you hear the echoes of history, or only the heavy silence of 9,000 lives that never returned? For me, it's hard to even imagine. The mummy of a strange man sleeping in snow for 5,000 years on the Alps. Amid the snow-covered peaks that remain treacherous year-round, a secret lay undisturbed for thousands of years, completely unknown to anyone. That is, until September 1991, when history was unexpectedly rewritten in a way no one could have predicted. At that time, while attempting to navigate the Ötztal Alps, 2 German hikers stumbled upon a body emerging from melting ice. At first, they assumed it was the remains of an unfortunate mountaineer who had recently perished. But the closer they looked, the stranger the discovery became. The body was almost perfectly preserved in ice, from skin and clothing to personal belongings. Soon, scientists became involved, and the name Otzi, also known as the Iceman, spread across the media worldwide. The mummy was discovered on the border between Austria and Italy, a factor that later sparked years of debate over the legal and scientific examination of the remains. Through extensive analysis, archaeologists determined that Otzi was a man roughly 5 feet 3 inches tall, weighing about 110 pounds, and between 30 and 45 years old at the time of death. But the biggest question remains: why would an ancient man end up on the frigid peaks of the Alps, where snow covers the mountains almost year-round? When Otzi was extracted from the ice, his near-perfect preservation left scientists both amazed and puzzled. He was still wearing clothing made from leather and plant fibers, had shoes and a hat, and carried numerous personal items. Most notably, he had hunting tools, including a bow and arrows, which fueled intense debate among researchers. Some scholars believe Otzi was simply a shepherd or hunter. Perhaps he was traversing the mountains in search of food or following livestock, only to be caught unexpectedly in an early winter snowstorm. Under such harsh conditions, becoming lost and dying would have been entirely plausible. However, not everyone agrees with this explanation. Other researchers suggest that Otzi's death may not have been accidental. He could have been attacked, murdered, or even sacrificed in some ancient ritual. The fact that he carried valuable items but still perished high in the mountains makes the story even more puzzling. Remarkably, even over 30 years after his discovery, scientists have not reached a definitive conclusion about Otzi's cause of death. Each theory has supporting evidence but also significant gaps. Whether it was a snowstorm, an accident, a conflict, or a prehistoric ritual, all remain speculative. What makes Otzi truly remarkable is not only the mystery surrounding his death, but also that he has become a living witness to human life thousands of years ago. From clothing and tools to physical condition and daily habits, everything has been preserved by the ice like a perfect time capsule. Today, when people look at the Iceman, they do not see just an ancient corpse, they see a story without an ending. Don't you find that incredible? Strange sounds from an ancient well in China. You've probably heard countless mysterious stories surrounding ancient structures, places where the past seems to whisper into the present. But the story I'm about to tell you is even more extraordinary. It's a 6-year-long mysterious journey that began with thumping sounds endlessly echoing from an ancient well in the modern town of Shanghai, China. The strange phenomenon began in Baihai town, where locals living around an ancient well suddenly noticed peculiar sounds seemingly coming from deep underground. Nobody could explain the eerie thumping, which sounded like a drum beating in a steady rhythm, attracting curiosity and even fear from residents. Eventually, the Shanghai Cultural Heritage Administration decided to intervene. In 2010, an official archaeological team was dispatched to excavate the mysterious well. What was expected to be a simple investigation turned into a 6-year-long quest to uncover its secrets. When excavation began, the team discovered that the well was more than 16 feet deep. On each brick, the researchers were amazed to see the names of the craftsmen who had built it, a rare find with great archaeological value. But the most remarkable discoveries were still to come. Beneath the soil, the team unearthed countless fragments of porcelain, fire bricks, hearths, and wall foundations, all remnants of a large ancient structure that once stood here. Clues began to emerge. By analyzing historical documents, experts determined that a well of this size typically belonged to a temple or monastery during the Song Dynasty. Flipping through old records, they found that, on the exact site of this well, there had once been a temple called Longping Temple during the Song Dynasty. The temple was a sacred symbol closely tied to the old town of Qinglong, the ancient name of today's Baihai town. It wasn't until 2016, after numerous excavations and cross-references, that archaeologists confirmed the presence of an underground palace located directly beneath the base of Longping Temple's pagoda. This discovery astonished experts as they uncovered thousands of ancient coins spanning the Han to Song dynasties, lying silently underground for centuries, a vivid testament to the town's golden past. But that wasn't the greatest treasure. Within the palace, archaeologists also found silver spoons, bronze mirrors, statues of Shakyamuni, silver turtle figurines, and most importantly, a highly sacred relic box containing Buddhist relics. The box was intricately crafted with 5 layers of stone, wood, iron, silver, and gold, and inside rested a bronze container engraved with silver script, housing 4 sacred Buddhist relics. While not as grand as the 8-layer relic box at Famen Temple or the 7-layer box at Triong North Tower, the historical and spiritual significance of this box is indisputable. From a single mysterious well, an entire long-lost temple was brought back to light. The story also confirmed that ancient Qinglong, located near the Lijiang River leading to the sea, had once been a prosperous trading port connecting China to the world. Longping Temple had been a center of faith and culture, but for reasons unknown, it had been buried over time, remembered only in old manuscripts, until now. As you can see, history doesn't just live in books. Sometimes it echoes through mysterious sounds in everyday life, waiting for those patient and passionate enough to listen. And who knows, right beneath our feet, there may be an unwritten epic of history still waiting to be discovered. Do you believe that beneath the ground where you live, countless secrets are still waiting to be revealed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Giant fossil beast that once ruled Asia, 26.5 million years ago. Imagine standing in a region of Asia over 26 million years ago. Before you, it's not a barren desert or dry plain like today, but dense, lush forests with towering trees reaching for the sky. Then, in the distance, a gigantic creature slowly emerges. It's nearly as tall as a 2-story building, its body as long as a city bus, and each step shakes the ground beneath it. At this point, many of you might think it's a dinosaur, but you'd be wrong. This is not a dinosaur. It's a giant rhinoceros, the largest land mammal to ever exist on Earth. This story came to light when scientists unearthed the fossils of two giant rhinoceros individuals in China, dated to about 26.5 million years ago. The discovery not only shook the paleontological community, but also opened a window into prehistoric Asia, revealing a thriving landscape far richer than we had imagined. These two giant rhinos were named Paraceratherium lynxiense. Just the name alone hints at their extraordinary size. Estimates suggest these creatures weighed up to 24 tons, roughly the combined weight of 4 adult African elephants or about 8 modern white rhinos. That alone is enough to amaze anyone. In terms of size, the giant rhino stood about 16 feet tall at the shoulder, with a body length of around 36 feet. Its head could reach nearly 23 feet in height, allowing it to easily browse foliage atop tall trees that no other species could reach. With such a supergiant physique, Paraceratherium lynxiense was even larger than a mammoth and officially holds the title of the largest land mammal in Earth's history. Of the two fossils discovered, one specimen was relatively complete, including the skull, jaw, teeth, and vertebrae connecting the head to the spine. The other included 3 vertebrae. While the number of bones was limited, each fragment carried tremendous scientific value. Using these remains, scientists reconstructed the shape of this ancient creature and determined it had enough distinctive features to be classified as a new species. Previous research shows that giant rhinos once roamed widely across Asia, including Pakistan, China, Mongolia, and Kazakhstan. Among them, the genus Paraceratherium had the largest range of any giant rhino group. This suggests that during that era, Asia was an incredibly fertile land, capable of sustaining enormous creatures like these. The most remarkable insight from this discovery isn't just the size of the rhinos, it's what it reveals about their environment. Fossils indicate that the areas they inhabited were highly productive ecosystems with dense forests, crucial for sustaining massive herbivores. Giant mammals require an enormous food supply to survive. However, not all periods were favorable for these giants. During the Oligocene epoch, around 34 to 23 million years ago, the Earth's climate became much drier. Vast forests gradually disappeared, leading to the extinction of many forest-dependent mammals. Most giant species vanished during this period. Yet surprisingly, the giant rhinos survived longer than expected, demonstrating an incredible capacity to adapt, at least for a time, before eventually disappearing from the Earth. Looking at these fossilized bones, we see not just a giant animal, but an entire ancient world that once existed. Imagine if giant rhinos were still alive today. Would humans still be the absolute rulers of the land? I think probably not. What do you think? Could there be another answer? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. The giant sword. Can you imagine a sword nearly 13 feet long and weighing 33 pounds, forged in the 15th century, that makes people wonder, could this have been a weapon for a giant? This isn't a product of imagination. It's a real historical artifact from Japan known as the Norimitsu Odachi, often called the steel monster among legendary swords. Looking at this colossal sword, you're immediately drawn into questions with no clear answers. Who wielded it? Why forge a weapon so enormous? Typically, an odachi, or great longsword in ancient Japanese culture, measured around 3.3 feet in length, already presenting a challenge for warriors of the time, as most people in Japan were relatively small in stature. But the Norimitsu Odachi is an extraordinary outlier, almost beyond the realm of practicality. With a length approaching 13 feet, the blade could not be used in conventional combat. Even drawing it from its sheath was a major ordeal. This has led many to speculate that the sword wasn't made for fighting, or if it was, its owner must have been extraordinarily large. This isn't just baseless conjecture. Some ancient Japanese texts mention giant warriors with exceptional physiques, wielding long swords far larger than typical weapons. If such a warrior truly stood over 6.5 feet tall with incredible strength, wielding the Norimitsu Odachi would have been entirely feasible. Imagine a giant warrior swinging a blade as long as a flagpole, capable of slicing through enemy formations. It's easy to see why this sword would have inspired fear. However, not everyone believes the Norimitsu Odachi was used in actual combat. Some theorists suggest it may have been created as a symbol of victory, meant to boost soldiers' morale before battle. Others think it might have been a prize-winning sword, showcasing the unparalleled skill of Japanese swordsmiths of the era. There's even an intriguing legend tied to psychological warfare. A clever strategist supposedly had the giant sword forged and displayed where enemy forces could see it. When invading troops encountered the massive blade, they panicked, believing the land was defended by giant warriors. Terrified, they retreated without engaging in battle, making the Norimitsu Odachi a symbol of both intimidation and strategic ingenuity. Whatever its true purpose, the Norimitsu Odachi remains one of the most spectacular examples of metallurgy and samurai spirit from medieval Japan. Whether as a weapon, a symbol, or a psychological tool, it has undeniably left an indelible mark on Japanese history and legend. The living monster in a 500-year-old Chinese monk's tomb. An ancient tomb, seemingly abandoned for centuries, revealed a secret not recorded in history books: not gold, not treasure, but life itself. A species thought to have vanished from the world more than half a century ago? That's exactly what happened during a strange excavation in China, where the tomb of a Ming Dynasty monk suddenly became famous, not for artifacts, but for the unexpected appearance of two living mysterious creatures. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, tomb raiding was a thriving underground industry, despite strict imperial bans. These daring thieves rarely targeted ordinary graves. They went after tombs of royals, nobles, and the wealthy, where not only bodies but treasures were buried. However, there was one interesting exception: the tomb of Zen master Yanzhu Guang, a famous monk from Sichuan, who, unlike the usual cremation practice, was buried at Tianla Mountain in Longxiang City, China. Though rumors spread of tomb raiders approaching, strangely, no valuables were ever reported stolen. Some speculated that the monk had buried nothing of value, or if he had, the thieves were so skilled that no one could detect the theft. It wasn't until a National Cultural Relic Survey in 2009 that the Zen master's tomb was officially reopened. Archaeologists worked painstakingly to clear the entrance, which had been heavily damaged by time. Inside, they found a small stone chamber, roughly 20 feet long and 10 feet wide, almost empty. There were no artifacts, no Buddha statues, just a tablet engraved with a brief biography of the Zen master. Just when the excavation seemed to end in disappointment, something unexpected happened. In the dim darkness of the tomb, something moved, and it glowed. Green eyes flickered in the shadows, leaving the archaeologists stunned. Two strange creatures emerged suddenly and bolted from the tomb so quickly that no one could react. They disappeared into the forest, leaving behind astonished gazes and countless unanswered questions. Fortunately, a few members of the team managed to snap photos of the creatures. When analyzed, experts were shocked to identify them as civet cats, a wild species once native to the Longxiang area, believed to have gone extinct in the 1950s. According to forestry records, there had been no sightings of this animal for more than 50 years. The glowing green eyes, reminiscent of ghost lights, were actually the civet cat's eyes reflecting the weak light. Their sudden presence raised numerous hypotheses. Had they really gone extinct, or had they quietly survived in a forgotten corner of the land? And if not for this excavation, humanity might never have known they still existed. A fully intact woolly mammoth, tens of thousands of years old, preserved in ice. In the wild lands of the Klondike, Yukon Territory, northwestern Canada, once the heart of the legendary gold rush, miners accidentally stumbled upon one of North America's most significant archaeological discoveries: the mummified remains of a newborn woolly mammoth, perfectly preserved by the eternal permafrost. This remarkable coincidence transported the world back to the late Ice Age, when gigantic creatures still roamed the northern hemisphere's grasslands. Scientists named the specimen Nun Cho Ga, meaning big animal in the Han language of the Trondek Huechin people, a tribute to the land and culture that had safeguarded this creature for tens of thousands of years. Researchers estimate that Nun Cho Ga was only about 30 to 35 days old at the time of death. Yet it was precisely this sudden death, combined with the harsh natural conditions, that transformed the calf into the most complete newborn woolly mammoth mummy ever found in North America. Measuring just 4.6 feet long, it is tiny compared to the massive adult mammoths often depicted in movies. Despite its small size, the preservation is astonishing. The trunk, once muscular, has softened but retains its structure. The hooves still show the wear marks of its first steps, and the signature brown curly fur still covers the body completely, defying the passage of time. The woolly mammoth, or Mammuthus primigenius, is an icon of the Ice Age. These creatures roamed the tundras of Europe and North America for over 140,000 years. Adults could reach 11.5 feet tall, with curved tusks up to 16 feet long and a dense coat that could grow 3 feet long, especially around the belly. They had small ears and short tails, evolutionary adaptations to minimize heat loss, crucial in the freezing environments they inhabited. What makes the Nunchoga specimen truly remarkable is not only its preservation, but also the era in which it lived and died, coexisting with cave lions, wild horses, and ancient bison. DNA, soft tissue, and muscle samples are being preserved and analyzed, offering insights not just into the biology of woolly mammoths, but also into the bigger questions. What really happened to these colossal creatures? Why did they vanish around the same time humans spread across the continents? More importantly, specimens like Nunchoga may hold the key to de-extinction technology. Once the stuff of science fiction, now a serious scientific question. Could one day woolly mammoths walk across frozen tundras again, resurrected from the fossil memory of the Earth? 12 recent archaeological discoveries that challenge everything you know about human history. Ancient hellish prisoner torture complex. Try to pause for a moment and imagine this. Right beneath the ground where we are living peacefully today, there may once have existed a place where anyone who entered was considered to have already stepped 1 foot into the afterlife. Sounds chilling, doesn't it? Yet this is the disturbing reality recently revealed by archaeologists in Turkey, a discovery that has sent shivers down many spines, reminding us that history was far from gentle. Just recently, researchers from the Faculty of Science and History at Uludağ University uncovered an ancient underground burial complex believed to have belonged to the Bithynian kingdom, which existed roughly between 297 and 274 BC. What makes this discovery particularly striking is that the site is about 2,300 years old and lies beneath what is now the modern region of Bursa, Turkey. And as it turns out, this was not merely a burial chamber. It was also a prisoner torture complex, regarded as a true hell of the ancient world. As archaeologists ventured deeper inside, they discovered a series of torture rooms, deadly pits, and even bloodstains still visibly embedded in the rock walls. What is even more haunting is that these prison chambers were not isolated. Instead, they were interconnected by a maze of corridors, all buried directly beneath the foundations of modern homes. In other words, for countless years, people have unknowingly been living right above a place once saturated with pain, fear, and despair. According to the lead researcher, Professor Ibrahim Yilmaz, the site also includes a tunnel system stretching approximately about 2.1 miles, circling the ancient city of Bursa. These tunnels were not merely used for transportation, they are believed to have served as the final route leading prisoners to their deaths. Just hearing this, many of you may be wondering, just how cruel were people in the past to one another? I find it just as difficult to imagine. However, for scientists, the evidence speaks clearly. By comparing the physical traces left behind with historical records, experts concluded that methods of prisoner torture at the time were exceptionally brutal. Some prisoners were hanged for extended periods to break them psychologically. Others were tortured to the point that they lost the ability to speak or could no longer hear the sounds around them. Most horrifying of all, some prisoners were beheaded without mercy, their severed heads thrown into deep wells as a way of completely erasing their existence. The remaining bodies, meanwhile, were returned to their families. But even that was not so simple. According to Professor Yilmaz, if relatives wanted the body returned intact, they were required to pay a certain sum of money. Thinking about how people in ancient times were forced, just to survive, to trade away both their dignity and their lives is truly heartbreaking, isn't it? At present, archaeologists are continuing their detailed study of this extraordinary torture complex. In the near future, the site is expected to be developed into an open-air museum, allowing future generations to witness firsthand one of the darkest corners of human history. And perhaps then, we will better understand that although modern life still has many challenges, compared to the past, we are undeniably fortunate. What about you? If given the choice, would you dare to live in an era where a single small mistake could cost you your life? As for me, the answer is a definite no. Peace and a civilized legal system. Those are truly the most precious things of all. Do you share the same view? 1,000-year-old mummy with intact hair found atop an ancient pyramid. In the heart of the bustling capital city of Lima, where traffic never seems to stop and modern buildings rise side by side, have you ever imagined that beneath your feet could lie a secret that has slept for over 1,000 years? It may sound hard to believe, but archaeology has once again proven that history is always closer than we think. We simply haven't taken the time to listen. And the story you're about to hear will take you to a discovery that has left many in awe. A mummy more than 1,000 years old, still retaining its brown hair as if time itself had forgotten its existence. The discovery was made during excavations at the Huaca Pucllana archaeological site, located right in the Miraflores district of Lima. There, researchers unexpectedly uncovered ancient human remains deep within an old tomb. Archaeologist Mirella Ganoza stated that this was an extremely rare and remarkable find, as the mummy was discovered inside the Huaca Pucllana pyramid, an enormous adobe structure standing over 69 feet tall and composed of 7 stacked tiers. This monumental structure was built by the ancient Lima culture and once served as a major ceremonial and religious center for coastal communities in central Peru. What astonished scientists most was the mummy's state of preservation. The remains were identified as those of an adult, found in a seated position with the legs drawn up, a burial posture commonly seen in many ancient South American cultures. Even more striking, the mummy's brown hair was almost completely intact, remaining soft despite the passage of time, while the teeth showed almost no significant changes. Just imagine that. After more than a millennium, such preservation seems nothing short of a real-life miracle. According to the research team, the body had been wrapped in a relatively simple layer of fabric. Inside the tomb, archaeologists also found several artifacts, including ceramic vessels and pieces of hand-woven textiles. These objects served as crucial keys, allowing researchers to determine the age of the burial and its historical context. Based on this evidence, they concluded that the mummy likely dates to around 1000 CE. At that time, the area was inhabited by the Ixma people, an indigenous community that once dominated the central coast of Peru before the rise of the Inca Empire. The Ixma are believed to have built at least 16 pyramids, with Huaca Pucllana being one of the most representative examples. Constructed around 500 CE, the site was not only a place of worship, but also a vivid reflection of the spiritual, social, and cultural life of ancient societies. Unfortunately, the mummy's gender has not yet been determined, adding yet another layer of mystery to this discovery. Nevertheless, scientists believe that further study of this newly uncovered mummy will provide valuable data for assessing the health, culture, and social structure of indigenous Peruvian communities in the past. And who knows, perhaps in the not-too-distant future, they will uncover the answer to the bigger question: why did this mummy appear in such a sacred and significant place as Huaca Pucllana? Until then, all we can do is wait and see what history chooses to reveal next. Nearly 3,000-year-old network of carved stone pipes in Israel. History doesn't always need tales of bloodshed or earth-shaking battles to spark human curiosity. Sometimes, all it takes are a few ancient stones, lying silently beneath the ground for thousands of years, to leave scientists deep in thought. And the story unfolding in the city of Jerusalem, Israel, where every inch of land is tied to a sacred and mysterious past, begins with stones just like these. During a recent excavation, Israeli archaeologists uncovered a network of carved stone pipes dating back nearly 3,000 years. These pipes were skillfully crafted and divided into 2 separate clusters, located only about 33 feet apart. At first glance, the structure may seem simple. However, the deeper experts investigated, the more they realized that this system was unlike anything they had encountered before. According to the Israel Antiquities Authority, there were no traces of blood found inside the pipes. This detail may seem minor, but it is critically important, as it rules out the possibility that the pipes were used for animal slaughter during large feasts or ancient sacrificial rituals. While this finding brought some relief, it also raised an even more puzzling question. What's more, the structure of this network does not match any known drainage system. The pipes do not create a consistent flow in any single direction, nor do they channel water into any reservoir or basin. In other words, this was neither a sewage system nor a rainwater drainage network. So what was its true purpose? Are you wondering the same thing I am? What has confused archaeologists even further is the complete absence of any written records. Neither the Bible nor historical documents related to Jewish history mention a similar structure ever existing in this area. There are no texts, no drawings, nothing beyond what remains buried underground. This lack of documentation has turned the stone pipe network into a particularly challenging archaeological puzzle. Archaeologist Yuval Gadot has proposed several hypotheses based on experience and historical context. According to him, the pipes may have been used in the production of certain goods. One possibility is flax processing, a common activity in ancient times which required flax stalks to be soaked in water for extended periods before further treatment. These carved stone pipes could have easily met such requirements. Another theory suggests the pipes were used to store dates during the drying process as part of producing date honey, a valuable and widely consumed food in the ancient Middle East. While these ideas sound plausible, unfortunately, they remain speculative, as there is still no solid evidence strong enough to confirm any of them. And so, after all the analysis and debate, the true purpose of this nearly 3,000-year-old carved stone pipe network remains hidden in the mist of history. Perhaps one day, a small new discovery will help reveal the truth. For now, those silent stones continue to quietly remind us that human history still holds many untold stories. What about you? If you had to make a guess, what do you think these ancient pipes were used for? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. 4,000-year-old apocalypse prevention machine in Iraq. Dear friends, if in the previous video we talked about unsolved mysteries of history, then the story you're about to hear takes us in a different direction, one where ancient people did not just leave behind questions, but also left behind solutions for their own survival. Did you know that the end of the world doesn't always come in the form of meteor strikes or massive floods like those we see in movies? Sometimes, the most terrifying threat is prolonged drought, cracked farmlands and water sources slowly disappearing. And about 4,000 years ago, people living in Mesopotamia once faced exactly that scenario. What has astonished later generations is that they did not simply accept their fate. Instead, they created a structure that modern archaeologists now refer to by a remarkable name, an apocalypse prevention machine. This discovery was made in a rural area of Iraq during excavations at the ancient city of Guangzhou. Once a major urban center, Guangzhou was under the control of the Sumerian civilization during the 3rd millennium BCE. When people think of Sumer, they often picture a civilization far ahead of its time, the birthplace of writing, law, and countless innovations that laid the foundation for human society. And this newly uncovered structure once again proves that the Sumerians were not only intelligent, but also intensely practical. The structure that was discovered is massive in scale, unusual in appearance, and contains elements so modern-looking that they seem almost unbelievable. At first, many even questioned whether it truly belonged to the ancient world. However, after careful study, archaeologists confirmed that the structure has existed for approximately 4,000 years. More importantly, it was neither a temple nor a palace. It was a genuine life-saving system for the entire community. What is known as the Apocalypse Prevention Machine is in reality a vast water management system, functioning in many ways like a modern water pipeline network. Its purpose was to transport water from distant areas for agriculture and daily use, especially during periods of severe drought. The system made it possible to divert water from two major rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, channeling it into canals, wells, and reservoirs strategically placed at the heart of residential areas. What truly amazes scientists is not only the sheer scale of the structure, but also the time at which it was built. Experts believe this system may have been constructed when the population of Guangzhou began to grow rapidly, increasing the risk of water shortages due to increasingly harsh climate conditions. Rather than waiting for nature to provide, the Sumerians took action, using advanced knowledge and engineering to adapt and save themselves. Compared to many other civilizations of the same era, the Sumerians' level of scientific and technical understanding clearly stood far above the rest. They did not merely observe their environment, they learned to anticipate danger and prepare for the worst possible scenarios. This mindset allowed their society to survive and thrive in a region that was never easy to inhabit. Notably, during the excavations at Guangzhou, archaeologists uncovered not only this so-called apocalypse prevention machine, but also a wide range of other important structures and artifacts. These discoveries help reconstruct a fuller picture of the history, religion, and politics of early Mesopotamian society. As you can see, every artifact brought up from beneath the ground is like a puzzle piece, helping us better understand how ancient people organized their lives and confronted the forces of nature. Fascinating, isn't it? A 3,500-year-old ancient tablet and the inscriptions that have left experts puzzled. Can you believe that an ancient clay tablet, no larger than a credit card, could reveal a surprisingly rich story about society and the economy from more than 3,500 years ago? Yes, you heard that right. Recently, archaeologists in Turkey discovered a clay tablet dating back to the 15th century BCE. What makes this find especially remarkable is that the tablet is not just an ordinary fragment of pottery. It records an important commercial transaction involving furniture, a large purchase of wooden tables and chairs, something no one expected to be documented in such careful detail. When we think about ancient civilizations, we often picture monumental structures like the Egyptian pyramids or Greece's Parthenon. Few people imagine that everyday objects such as tables and chairs could also leave behind valuable historical traces. Yet this tablet does far more than simply record a transaction. It opens a window into how society and the economy were organized at the time. Written in Akkadian cuneiform, an ancient language widely used in the Middle East, the tablet provides an important clue for understanding state structures and daily life during the Late Bronze Age. You may not know this, but Akkadian is one of the earliest Semitic languages, related to Arabic and Hebrew, and was once used across a vast region stretching from Iran to Egypt and present-day Turkey. The use of Akkadian cuneiform to record commercial transactions like this clearly indicates a society with a well-developed system of record-keeping and social organization. This tablet does not merely document a sale. It also reflects an economy with clear divisions of labor and a high degree of specialization. Furniture was not just a practical household item. It was part of a growing material culture within an increasingly complex economic system. Despite its significance, the tablet itself is quite modest in size, measuring only about 1.6 by 0.6 inches and weighing roughly 1 ounce. It was discovered during restoration work following an earthquake that shook the ancient city of Alalakh, located in the Reyhanlı district of Hatay province. This historically rich site was once the capital of the Kingdom of Mukish during the 2nd millennium BCE. Alalakh, also known as Tel Achana, was home to the Amorites, a Semitic-speaking people. It was here that archaeologists uncovered the tablet, offering a glimpse into a society with a vibrant economy and complex commercial practices. During that period, Alalakh was part of the Mitanni Empire, a powerful state in Western Asia known for its advanced production of ceramics, metalwork, and glass. Around 1350 BCE, when King Shadawazza of Mitanni ceded Alalakh to the Hittite king Suppiluliuma, the city was not only a major trade center, but also a cultural crossroads where goods and craftsmanship were widely exchanged. The tablets found in Alalakh's ancient palaces and castles are now being carefully studied by archaeologists. These discoveries are expected to shed further light on the social dynamics and economic systems of the region during the Late Bronze Age. What other fascinating details might still be hidden within these tablets? The answers will likely emerge through future research. From a single small clay tablet, we have uncovered a wealth of information about human life, society, and the economy more than 3,500 years ago. So what do you think about these archaeological discoveries? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below the video. The 2,000-year-old tomb of an Iron Age female warrior. Off the southwestern coast of England, amid drifting sea mist and gentle waves surrounding the Isles of Scilly, lies a small island called Briar, one that had been largely forgotten in the flow of history for thousands of years. But in 1999, when archaeologists began excavating an ancient burial site on this island, they never expected that they were about to uncover a mystery capable of completely changing how we view the role of women in ancient warfare. Deep beneath the soil, they discovered an unusual grave, the final resting place of an Iron Age warrior, and to everyone's surprise, the individual buried there turned out to be a woman. The story began when the archaeological team uncovered severely decomposed human remains, reduced to little more than a dark stain embedded in the surrounding soil, the only trace left of someone who had lived more than 2,000 years ago. Beside what remained of the body were a sword made of a copper alloy and a shield, objects typically associated with male warriors of that era. However, what truly puzzled researchers were the other items found in the grave: a brooch and a bronze mirror, artifacts traditionally linked to women in Iron Age burial rituals. This raised a critical question. Was this the grave of a man buried with female-associated objects, or was it truly the resting place of a female warrior, something rarely documented in European archaeology? The answer gradually emerged when the research team applied advanced tooth enamel analysis techniques at the University of California. Using a method that identifies proteins linked to the X and Y chromosomes, far more durable over time than DNA, scientists determined there was a 96% probability that the individual buried in the grave was female. This discovery was groundbreaking. Not only did it challenge long-held assumptions about women's roles in ancient societies, but it also revealed that as early as the Iron Age, women could hold combat roles, and possibly even leadership positions, in violent conflicts. The grave dates to approximately 100 to 50 BCE, a turbulent period for the Celtic peoples of Britain, shortly before the Roman Empire's expansion into the region. Based on the artifacts uncovered, archaeologists speculate that this woman may have been a military leader, someone who commanded raids into enemy territory, or even a powerful figure within her local community. Biologist Sarah Stark of Historic England commented, "We may never fully understand the symbolism of the grave goods, but the combination of a mirror and a sword is the clearest possible statement of this woman's status, not just as a warrior, but as a leader." Even more intriguing, this is the only known grave in Western Europe to contain both a mirror and a shield. Two symbols often seen as opposites, yet here united within a sacred space. Together, they seem to declare that gender did not determine one's role in battle. Rather, it was strength of spirit and capability that truly mattered. Today, these remarkable artifacts are on display at the Isles of Scilly Museum on St. Mary's Island, presented as part of a historical narrative that is still being rewritten. This discovery not only sheds new light on the history of the Celts, mysterious warriors who once dominated much of Europe before the Roman era, but also opens the door to re-examining the role of women in ancient civilizations. While traditional history books have long celebrated male generals, the tomb on Briar tells a different story. One of women who bravely took up swords, fought on the battlefield, defended their lands, and inspired future generations. Much like the warrior queen Boudica, who later led the Iceni tribe in a revolt against the mighty Roman Empire in 60 CE. The question now is no longer, did female warriors exist in the Iron Age? It is, how many of them are still buried in history, unnamed and forgotten? 113-million-year-old dinosaur footprints revealed after a severe drought. Nature can sometimes be incredibly harsh, yet it is often during these harsh moments that history unexpectedly reveals itself. The summer of 2022 became a memorable milestone that perfectly illustrates this truth. Prolonged droughts caused many rivers around the world to dry up almost completely, and while many people saw only hardship and loss, scientists recognized a rare opportunity for the distant past to suddenly emerge into the light. One of the most remarkable stories began in the state of Texas, near the bustling city of Dallas. At Dinosaur Valley State Park, already famous for its fossil remains, the river running through the area nearly dried up in several sections. This dramatic drop in water levels exposed a breathtaking sight, a series of ancient dinosaur footprints stretching across the rocky surface, as if the dinosaurs had walked through the area just yesterday. In reality, these footprints are approximately 113 million years old, dating back to the Cretaceous period, a time when dinosaurs still ruled the Earth. Before becoming so clearly visible, the tracks had been buried beneath water and sediment for an extremely long time. The unusually severe drought caused the water to recede, leaving behind a dry rock surface and allowing the footprints to be preserved in near-perfect condition. Many researchers believe this may be one of the longest continuous dinosaur trackways ever discovered anywhere in the world. According to Stephanie Salinas Garcia, an archaeologist with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, the discovery is impressive not only because of its scale, but also because of its immense scientific value. The footprints belong to multiple dinosaur species, including both carnivores and herbivores. This suggests that, during a certain period, Different types of dinosaurs may have moved through this area at the same time, possibly even traveling in large groups or herds. By examining the shape, size, and spacing of the footprints, scientists can infer the dinosaurs' speed, direction of movement, and even aspects of their behavior. Some tracks indicate slow, steady walking, while others show longer strides, hinting at moments of faster movement, perhaps during hunting or when escaping danger. These seemingly small details help vividly reconstruct parts of the daily lives of the massive creatures that once dominated the planet. As a result, Dinosaur Valley State Park has become an extremely important research site. Beyond shedding light on dinosaur migration patterns, the footprints also allow archaeologists and paleontologists to reconstruct elements of an ancient ecosystem, revealing how rivers, vegetation, and animal species once existed and interacted with one another. With the support of modern technologies such as 3D scanning and image analysis, researchers hope to continue extracting even more information from these footprints. Through this work, they aim to gain a deeper understanding of dinosaur evolution and the complex ecological relationships among ancient species. And who knows, perhaps in the future, from a single footprint preserved in stone, humanity may continue to uncover stories of Earth that have remained untold for more than 100 million years. That's entirely possible, isn't it? An ancient tomb that rewrites history on the banks of the Danube, Germany. Along the gentle banks of the Danube River in a small area known as Geisingen-Gutmadingen, located in the Tuttlingen district of southwestern Germany, lies a place that seems peaceful and unassuming. But have you ever wondered whether a place so quiet could be hiding secrets powerful enough to rewrite human history? You might think that sounds unlikely, but that is only before you learn that an archaeological discovery here, seemingly ordinary at first glance, has left researchers saying, "Perhaps we have misunderstood history all along." During archaeological excavations, researchers uncovered an ancient tomb dating back to the 3rd millennium BCE, meaning it is more than 4,000 years old. The tomb belongs to the Neolithic period and contains distinctive ceramic artifacts associated with the corded ware culture. And remarkably, the moment the first pottery fragments emerged from the soil, archaeologists realized they had not simply found a grave, they had opened a direct doorway into humanity's distant past. But the surprises did not end there. As the excavation expanded, experts went on to discover approximately 140 additional graves dating to the 6th century CE from the medieval period. What makes this especially fascinating is that each grave tells its own story, filled with familiar objects from a turbulent era: swords, spears, and shields, clear traces of warfare, bone combs, drinking vessels, and earrings, everyday items reflecting the daily life and aesthetic sensibilities of people at the time. Can you feel it? Beneath every layer of soil lies an entire human life that once existed. In fact, this discovery was so striking that the local mayor, Martin Numberger, expressed his astonishment, saying, "Our town of Gutmadingen is probably far older than we ever imagined." Previously, historical records suggested that this area was first settled around the year 1273. However, the newly uncovered ancient graves have forced historians to reconsider the entire timeline, going so far as to revise documents long thought to be firmly established. The most significant highlight of this discovery is the clear presence of the corded ware culture. This ancient civilization is known for its distinctive pottery techniques, featuring geometric patterns created by pressing cords into wet clay. Beyond their artistry, the corded ware people also practiced advanced agriculture, particularly cattle and sheep herding, as well as barley cultivation. These details help scientists better understand how ancient communities organized their lives, survived, and expanded their settlements. Yet the story of Geisingen-Gutmadingen is not limited to the Neolithic era alone. The medieval graves open an even broader window into European history. During this time, the Germanic leader Odoacer deposed the Roman Emperor Romulus Augustus, officially bringing the Western Roman Empire to an end and ushering in the migration period. This era saw tribes moving across the continent, conquering new lands, and triggering conflicts that profoundly reshaped Europe's social structure. All of the discoveries at Geisingen-Gutmadingen, from the Neolithic tomb to the hundreds of medieval graves, together form an archaeological treasure of immense value. Their significance extends far beyond Germany, offering the world a fresh perspective on human history. And perhaps the most thought-provoking realization is this: History has never been a story that is fully told. It is still there, beneath our feet, waiting for the day it is awakened. And you, if you had the chance to stand before these graves that have rewritten history, what do you think the past would whisper to you? I'm truly curious to hear your thoughts. The mysterious treasure in an ancient Chinese tomb. In Guangzhou City, Hubei Province, China, where even a single dig of a shovel can surprise archaeologists, in 2014, construction workers digging the foundation for a middle school unexpectedly uncovered signs of multiple ancient tombs. Realizing the situation was unusual, they quickly informed the school administration, and the information was soon passed on to local authorities. Not long after, experts from the local Heritage Bureau arrived to inspect and survey the site. The results were astonishing. Around 400 ancient tombs were identified, spanning different historical periods, including the Warring States period, the Tang Dynasty, and the Song Dynasty. Even just hearing that, you can probably feel a chill, right? Among these hundreds of tombs, one in particular drew significant attention from both experts and the public. It belonged to the Chu state during the Warring States period and was almost entirely intact. This tomb was built in the Jia shape, a relatively rare type. According to researchers, Jia-shaped tombs are typically rectangular with only one single passage leading inside. Viewed from above, the layout resembles the Chinese character Jia. Its discrete structure allowed the tomb to escape grave robbers for thousands of years. As the team explored deeper, they discovered that the interior was pitch dark, making it nearly impossible to see anything. To facilitate excavation, they hired an electrician named Xiao Tian to install lighting. Xiao Tian eagerly set to work. While climbing inside to install the lights, he accidentally glanced at a black object lying on the coffin lid. Thinking it was unimportant and seeing no one was watching, he slipped it into his jacket pocket and took it home. That evening, when he and his wife examined the spoils, Xiao Tian was stunned to realize it was a dried fish. Feeling disappointed and thinking it had no value, he casually tossed the fish aside. But life, as always, is full of surprises. The next day, when Xiao Tian returned to the tomb, he overheard the experts excitedly discussing a special discovery. They had found more than a dozen dried fish in the tomb, but all had been broken into pieces. None were intact. Suddenly, Xiao Tian remembered the fish he had taken home. He immediately confessed. Experts quickly went to his house to retrieve the most perfectly preserved fish because what seemed worthless was actually an extremely rare treasure. According to archaeologists, these dried fish date back about 2,400 years and are known as silver carp. The fish had been salted and dried, a luxury food in ancient times, buried only with wealthy and noble individuals. The tomb also contained other artifacts such as arrow tubes, swords, and armor, leading experts to speculate that the tomb's occupant may have been a general of the Chu state. However, this remains only a hypothesis. The true identity of the tomb's owner, as well as the full story of his life, remains a mystery. And perhaps it is precisely this silence of history that makes ancient tombs so fascinating to us. The 700-year-old ghost ship carrying an unparalleled treasure. Do you believe in ghost ships? Not the ones from movies or legends, but real ships, once sailing across the open ocean only to vanish without a trace. And then, centuries later, rise from the sea as if carrying whispers from the past. Yes, you heard that right. In the cold, mysterious waters of the Baltic Sea, a spectacular discovery stunned both archaeologists and history enthusiasts. Two ghost ships from completely different regions disappeared nearly 700 years ago, yet appeared together, lying side by side as if fated from a previous life. The story began in spring 2021, when a team of workers was constructing a railway tunnel near Varberg, in Halland County, Sweden. They had no idea that directly beneath the ground rested a historical mystery yet to be revealed. Two ancient shipwrecks, named Varbergskagen 1 and Varbergskagen 2, slowly emerged. What left experts in awe was their incredible preservation, almost intact, with no signs of collision, damage, or decay. How did these two ships, one from the forests of the Netherlands, Belgium, and France, the other from northern Poland, end up together? They did not travel in tandem, yet eventually rested only 30 feet apart, sinking into the Baltic Sea in the 14th century. A strange coincidence? or something more metaphysical that science has yet to explain? Analyses reveal these are not just shipwrecks, but priceless treasures of medieval European trade, daily life, and politics. Inside the ships, goods were preserved almost perfectly. Wooden spoons, barrels, leather shoes. Small items that tell big stories about people, commerce, and the cultures connected across these maritime routes. One of the two ships, considered the most complete medieval shipwreck ever found in Sweden, puzzled archaeologists even more because there were no clear signs of why it sank. No burn marks, no holes from weapons, no trace of pirates. The most plausible hypothesis so far? A violent storm may have struck both ships, two strangers on the open sea, carrying them together to a final resting place seemingly destined. But that's not all. The Baltic Sea has long been famous for its unusually well-preserved shipwrecks, with explanations never fully satisfying. Some say the chemical composition of the water preserves the wood, but is that the only reason? Or do the calm waters hide secrets yet to be uncovered? The pair of Baltic ghost ships is more than an archaeological discovery. They are a reminder that history never truly dies. It silently lives beneath layers of earth and deep waters, waiting to be excavated, heard, and told. And perhaps, their stories don't just speak of the past, they reveal the fragile, mysterious nature of humanity's journey through time. The 130-year-old sensitive underwear of the Inuit. Amid the snow and ice of remote Greenland, where life struggles to survive each day under harsh temperatures, archaeologists recently uncovered an astonishing artifact: a women's thong made entirely from sealskin and fur. This is not the modern lingerie we see today, but a vivid testament to the craftsmanship, creativity, and fashion sense of the Inuit, the indigenous people living in the Arctic during the 19th century. This unique piece of underwear has been dated to approximately 130 years old and once belonged to an Inuit woman living in Greenland's frigid landscape. What makes it remarkable is not only its material and daring design, but also the way it was worn as a symbol of personal expression and social status within the community. Far from being just a protective garment, the thong is decorated with glass beads and soft fur trims along the front and sides, making it a genuine piece of wearable art. According to Peter Toft, a fur clothing specialist at the National Museum of Denmark, Inuit women would wear these thongs when entertaining guests or visiting relatives. In everyday life, they wore them with confidence and pride as a reflection of their personal identity. The meticulous stitching and delicate ornamentation reveal the skillful hands and refined aesthetic sense of the woman who made it. One can imagine that in the icy Arctic, inside warm animal skin tents, this small garment was a highlight of elegance and femininity. Of course, when stepping into the harsh outdoor environment, Inuit women layered on thicker clothing made from reindeer fur and other animal skins to keep warm. Yet beneath all that, the sealskin underwear remained essential, providing insulation, wind protection, water resistance, and, crucially, preventing sweat from freezing, one of the major hazards in Arctic conditions. Seals, primarily found along the eastern coast of Greenland, have long been a vital resource for the Inuit. They were hunted not only for meat, but also for their valuable skin, used to make everything from clothing and footwear to kayaks and ropes. After a hunt, Inuit women cleaned the skins, removing excess fat and flesh, then treated and sewed them using handmade needles. This process demanded patience and precision, a skill passed down through generations. Today, this sealskin thong no longer lies hidden beneath ice. It has been carefully restored and is now on display at the National Museum of Ethnology in Denmark, where thousands of visitors can appreciate the unique beauty of ancient Inuit culture. A small garment, yet it carries a story of adaptation, creativity, and the pride of Arctic women. If you want to see the masterpiece of Inuit craftsmanship with your own eyes, a trip to Denmark's museum is definitely worth considering. The ancient temple of future prediction. In the land of Gegorod in the Republic of Armenia, a place that might seem to be nothing but wind and stone, archaeologists have recently announced the discovery of 3 ancient temples. Built over 3,300 years ago, these temples are located within a fortress atop a hill. But what makes them extraordinary is not only their age, it is their mysterious function. According to archaeologists, these temples once served as centers for astrological rituals, where ancient people sought to connect with the future through mystical ceremonies. Each temple in the Geggerot fortress is designed simply, a single-room structure, but each contains layers of symbolic meaning. At the center lies a clay basin filled with ceramic vessels and ashes, remnants of the sacred rituals once performed there. Archaeologists also discovered clay-horned deity statues, incense burners used for ritual materials, ancient seals, and notably, animal bones with engraved markings, all hinting at a past where the boundary between the physical world and the divine was blurred. Researchers Adam Smith and Jeffrey Leon note that these temples were spaces where the ruling class conducted rituals to predict the future, a key element of their power system. In their article published in the American Journal of Archaeology, they wrote, "According to the logic of astrological activity, the past, present, and future are interconnected, opening the possibility of linking current circumstances to outcomes that could be influenced." At Geggerot, the ancients developed at least 3 distinct methods of divination, each involving specific rituals, tools, and careful preparation. Osteomancy, using cattle, sheep, or goat leg bones, which were either burned or engraved, the cracks or shapes were interpreted to predict the future. Lithomancy, using colored stones, which were cast or arranged in patterns to read fate, believed to be guided by the divine. Alluromancy, a form of divination using ground flour, often wheat or other grains, which could be written with, sprinkled, or burned during rituals. Interestingly, all these rituals involved wine and fire. Participants would drink wine, burn sacrificial materials, and chant, an act of solemn communication with the divine that was both sacred and mystical. These ceremonies were not only for fortune-telling but also served as assertions of power, as only the ruling class had access to and could perform them. The Geggerot fortress was therefore more than just a defensive structure. It may have been the most important religious center of an ancient ruling system. To date, archaeologists have not identified the official name of this civilization, nor the individuals who led its power structure. Much remains hidden beneath the dust of time, awaiting further discovery. Yet, through the 3 astrological temples perched atop Geggerot Hill, one thing is clear. From the earliest times, humans have relentlessly sought answers to the unknown, past, present, and future alike. The rituals involving bones, stones, and flour were not mere superstition. They stand as evidence of humanity's desire to control destiny and understand the laws of the world. And now, as the curtain of the past slowly draws to a close, we all share the same feeling. History has never truly stood still like the lines in a textbook. Every new archaeological discovery is like a puzzle piece finally found, forcing us to reconsider, rethink, and sometimes completely change what we once believed to be true. You see, from a single tomb, a footprint, or an artifact that seems lifeless, an entire distant era can come alive before our eyes. If today's history has amazed you, who knows? Tomorrow, right beneath our feet, humanity may uncover even more astonishing secrets. If you love stories like this, don't forget to stay with us. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you can continue the journey of exploring humanity's untold stories. For now, thank you and see you next time.